Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Ted Santos, and it is Friday. And on Fridays, we YouTube it and chill. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Ted Santos. On YouTube and chill, we talk about relationships and the intimacy, the intimate part. I love talking about sex. I love talking about the intimacy of relationships between men and women. I love peeling them down and stripping off the layers and looking at things for what they are. Sometimes it's sex, sometimes it's not. But ultimately, really like to talk about the intimate dynamics between men and women, how that works, what doesn't work. Where are we now? So Friday night, 7 o'clock, I like to take on these topics that are often not always discussed, or they are discussed in a politically correct way. And we never really get to the heart and soul of the matter. So at YouTube and Chill, we like to get to the heart and soul of intimacy between men and women. And tonight, well, it will be no different. We are going to take on a topic that has many question marks around it. And I guess we can all easily understand kind of how we got here, except the rules of engagement between men and women may not be as clear as everyone claims. Some people say it's so natural for men and women to come together. And we also hear about how women have been cheated because of social constructs and upbringing. We hear it often. So how does that work when we look at the social constructs, the social contract, really? There's a social contract that's been in place between men and women for thousands of years, maybe millions of years. And have women now violated that social contract? Is it what they really want? Are women about to get a taste of something that they really didn't think through? When I was I must have been about 3 years old, four at the most. And I was at my grandmother's house, and my grandmother went off to work, and her brother left his girlfriend to watch over me and my cousins. We're all about the same age. And I told this woman that I wanted an onion, right? And this, at least at that age, that onion was huge. And I thought of the Little Rascals and alfalfa, and he ate scunion. Yeah, he was eating scallions, right? And so I said, I want to be like alfalfa and I want to eat an onion. And she told me, you don't want an onion. I promise you, you don't want it. And I just kept asking. And I asked for that onion. Finally, she gave it to me. And I took that onion, proudly took a bite out of it and started chewing. And oh my God, she was correct. I didn't want that. As a 4-year-old, I had not understood the real consequences of what it was like to take a bite out of an onion and eat it. And it was a horrible. And she said, eat it. You asked for it, now you have it. Man, I took maybe 2, 3 bites. And it left such a bad taste in my mouth. I said I had to go to the bathroom. I went upstairs to the bathroom, wrapped it up in toilet paper, threw it in the garbage. And later my grandmother came home, and surely she smelled it. And, I was in a little bit of trouble, not a big deal, but I wanted it. So I think that's what women are doing when they are demanding equality. It sounds good. It looks good on TV, but when they get a real taste of this, it's not going to be what they anticipated. What's going on, Sean? Good to see you in the house. Hey, yep, and we're gonna look at this. We're gonna look at this from a man and woman's perspective. What's going on, PJ? Protect them from the cold in the bedroom. I like that. Yes. So that is the question. Should men protect women? And there are all kinds of, I always have subtitles and I wonder which one is the best. So some of the other titles I had was, what do women need protection from? And we're going to look at some of this, right? So do women really even need protection? Or, and the other one was, are men obligated to protect women? So what do women need protection from? What is it men are protecting women from? And some of the answers to that could be obvious, but you know what? When we start, as I love to do, is strip down those layers. Maybe what women need protection from is something they're not being honest about. And maybe what they're about to get is that, like I had that as a 4-year-old, eating that big onion and getting a taste of something that I really hadn't grasped what it was like to eat an onion. I never asked for another onion to eat after that again, especially raw, right? What's going on, Imperator? So, are men obligated to protect women? Should men protect them? What do women need protection from? In the age of equality. So, guys, this is Friday night YouTube and chill. I like talking about intimacy, sex. PJ got it right. Protect them in the bedroom, keep them warm. Uh, so we're going to talk about the intimacy of dynamics between men and women, and you know what? That has been sort of a universally an intimate part of relationships between men and women. That women were protected by men always, always throughout the world. This is universal. And have women violated that contract? And is it as natural for men to protect women as men and women believe? So you guys know I like to do a screen share. I'm going to do some of that, and we are going to look at this. So in the meantime, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, subscribe now, hit the bell. If you haven't hit the bell already, so you get notifications of my shows and videos I do, smash that like button and share this. I even want women to come in and chime in on this conversation. Love to hear what the women have to say about this. You know, it's so interesting that when women say, I can do anything a man can do, but I can do it better. Like they can do it better. So does that mean women should be protecting one another? I mean, do women realize the only thing stopping El Chapo and the drug lords from coming up and pillaging the United States is men? Do they realize that? PJ, that's probably the biggest protection women need is from themselves. So I want to do, here's an article, Dear Men. I didn't read it yet. So the videos I have looked at, and there's some good videos. So let's do a screen share, and I'm going to share this article with you. I hope it's funny. The Good Men Project. So this is from July of 2018. And Taza Jensen wrote this. And the title is Dear Men, Women don't want to be saved. I'll give the bad news first. Women do not come with a manual. I remember hearing that as a child. So what is this? Uh, so I haven't read this, so hopefully we get some entertainment out of this article. Article starts. I found myself sitting around at the table of men last night, one of whom seemed very upset. Looking at him, one might have assumed he'd spent the day on a battlefield somewhere, ripped to shreds and defeated. But alas, he was only at the office. It was clear that he needed to let off some steam, so we asked him if he wanted to talk about it. And after going through all of the things that were bothering him, he vulnerably exclaimed that he was frustrated. Amongst the many high sensation moments of his day was one in particular wherein the team of women he managed all felt hopeless. They were miserable and frustrated in their work, and try as he might, they wouldn't stop being miserable. He passionately explained how badly he wanted for them to be independent and solve their own problems, and then enthusiastically described all the ways he told them how to do that using the coaching skills he'd recently acquired at a leadership training. But put into action and experience, none of those tools were working, and he didn't understand why. They seemed so foolproof. I couldn't help but be curious. After all, I also wanted to know why it was that nothing was working. Were these women really just doomed from the beginning and intent on torturing him? We chatted we chatted about it a bit, and I noticed that it seemed he had done an amazing job at attempting to motivate them. However, it seemed he forgot to ask if a motivational speech was what they wanted. Upon further inquisition, he discovered that he had committed a cardinal sin that almost every willing man unknowingly commits. He went straight into Mr. Fix-It mode and instead tried to save them from their own misery. Who said women need to be saved from themselves? Is that PJ? uh, It looks like that's what this article is about. So, uh, the author says, I went on to explain the honorable ways in which men shoot themselves in the foot with women, and at the very top of that list is any attempts made at fixing us. We are all raised with. How long is this? Wow. Okay. We're all raised with the fanatical story of a damsel in distress who has been locked in her ivory tower by an evil witch and who is then saved by a charming prince on a white horse. It sounds like a wonderful story. She has needs and he can meet her needs. They are a perfect match because he feels useful and gets acknowledgement. Oh, Prince Charming, I don't know what I would have done without you. And she feels cared for and worthy of love. Except this is no longer the reality we live in. The underbelly of that story is that the evil witch Prince Charming is saving the damsel from is her own shadow self trying to come up with sorry. So the underbelly of that story is that the evil witch Prince Charming is saving the damsel from is her own shadow self trying to come up to the surface. It's literally where all her power is locked up. And the seemingly sparkly, clean intention behind Prince Charming's need to rescue her is to use her as tangible proof of his own worth, so long as he can keep saving her and getting acknowledgement for doing it, he has value. And this, my dear beloved man, is what we call codependence. So what do? I'll give the bad news first. Women do not come with a manual. Part of the mystery and wonder and awe of the feminine is precisely because there is no manual. And yet this reality our inherent unpredictability and the inherent confusion men experience as a direct result of it tends to lead most men to want to give up entirely on understanding us before they have even begun. Cavemen didn't have these problems. The article goes on. It's at this point that most men attempt to control as much of their circumstances as they can in order to feel even remotely sane around us. And without fully realizing why, this is precisely where we tend to turn up the volume of our unpredictability. Perhaps we secretly want to torture him, or maybe we don't feel heard. Depending on his own perspective, he may believe the former, but it's more often not the latter. If a woman manual were to exist, it would be an intangible one, without the tools that so often leave us feeling confined and concerned into showing up in one specific way, a way that often conveniently protects a man's ego and keeps him comfortable. The manual would have one page wherein there would be a detailed description of how he, using the inconvertible power of his attention, learns to play us better than we play ourselves. How does he do this? By noticing and then subsequently being inspired by all of the brilliant ways a woman has learned to communicate with him and the world. Fixing us means think we are broken. Okay, that's a fair statement, right? No one's broken. As much as we're taught we are. It goes on to say, it may feel like a noble cause to save us from our torment and suffering. But what is actually being communicated when that happens is that he believes we are broken. Anytime anyone attempts to fix someone, that is what is actually being communicated. It's a standard example of the starting gate rescuer position on drama triangle. Rescuer saves victim in order to feel needed, and victim continues to feel broken, helpless, and in need of rescuing. That's interesting. So if men just ignore women and their problems, a lot of women will say, you're ignoring us because we're women. And if we save you, then you say, well, you're saving us because we're women and you think we're broken. The article goes on. The good news is that we are not broken. None of us are. And the sooner we are willing to acknowledge that, the sooner we all feel free. We will free up a whole lot of energy that is better spent connecting with one another. The caveat here is that many of us believe ourselves to be broken and in need of fixing from time to time. It's one of the many ways we like to not take responsibility for ourselves and our power. And most of us are raised thinking it's perfectly normal to let others take responsibility for us instead. This is incidentally a surefire way to either get rescued or to find proof of our unworthiness to love, depending on the result. Okay. So here's our point. What's a man to do? Well, he refers back to his intangible one-page woman manual using the incontrovertible power of his attention. He learns to play us better than we can play ourselves. He doesn't go on our ride. He doesn't go on our ride and believe our story of hopelessness. He reminds us of our awe and wonder and mystery, and he lets us save ourselves. Now, that's interesting. So we have to tell women how great they are, even though they're sitting there being not great and being hopeless. And we have to tell them how in awe we are of them. But that's still saving them. So we have to lie to women to save them. That's still saving them. This woman doesn't know what she's saying. Men are being called upon now more than ever to expand their range. It's easy to blame women for being so confusing and hopeless. Like it or not, the feminist movement has happened, and there are a lot of women running around with a lot of power, living out their story of needing to be saved from it. Refusing to save the powerful damsel in distress, refusing to save the powerful damsel in distress from herself while staying connected to her and loving her anyway, while she figures out how to save herself, is likely to cause some disruption to the type of comfort many men yearn for, both in their professional and romantic relationships with women. It requires of him to be reconciled with his own unpredictability as well as his own awe, wonder, and mystery, so that he can consciously hold her there. It requires of him willingness to not be needed, but to ask her instead what she needs. And it requires her to know. And if she doesn't know, does that mean we should just dismiss her? I think article is very interesting because she's saying don't save women, but then she lays out a very slick way of saving a woman by lying to her while the woman is being powerless, confused, and hopeless. We are to save her and pretend we're not saving her by telling her how wonderful and how in all we are of her. So this article is asking men to save women while pretending to not save them. Very interesting. And the confusion goes on, and the beat goes on, and so does the confusion. So then we want to put women like that in leadership positions. You've got to be kidding me. It's much better to have those women working as all females in their own organization where they can sort that out on their own and they won't feel disempowered by a man saving them. So that story was funny in a very dark way. Very dark. So women want to be saved without men making it obvious we're saving them. So we have to lie. And as the article said, I didn't say it. The woman said, play women better than women play themselves. That's what the article said, not me. So women are asking men to play them to make them feel better. Very interesting. Hilarious, if anything. So I want to, let's see here. Let's do this. I want to show this interesting video. Very interesting perspectives. And I'm also going to share.
This is Toki.
See, here are my thoughts on this. This is where I'm coming from. Traditionally, men feel obligated to protect women. When the Titanic was sinking, women and children were allowed into the lifeboats first. This has been the relationship between men and women for millennia. However, women are demanding equality. Is the idea of men protecting women a social construct? If we stop teaching boys to protect women, will women be on their own when it comes to safety? With that said, is there really anything women need to be protected from? If so, what is it? With all the modern conveniences, law enforcement, and military, women are already protected under the umbrella of men. What more can they need protection from? Yet we hear about this provide and protect, right? Perhaps many of the dangers women face are in their minds. In other cases, they may be putting themselves in situations that are not in their best interest, like becoming criminals. And this is not to mention 70% of domestic violence is initiated by women. How do you protect women when they are out here initiating domestic violence? For decades, women have demanded equality with men, yet they also demand to be protected by men. In the past, men went out of their way to protect all women. That was the symbiotic relationship where men and women played traditional roles. Since the roles have changed, should the rules change as well? So, are they changing? This video from 2018 is going to offer a very interesting perspective. And this is going to be only women talking. This is across the pond there. You'll hear the British accents.
This is talking about the whole thing about putting women and children first in a disaster. And obviously, you know, when the Titanic sank, it was famously women and children first when it came to the whole sort of rescue effort thing. But there's a new study that says that that principle no longer applies in modern Britain.
So these are going to be what's happening in Britain. You know, I wonder if this is still the same in the U.S. with just but we had a gentleman on the show Sunday who lives in Britain, and you know he felt that the feminists here in the U.S. are much more staunch feminists than in Britain. But let's just hear culturally what's happening in Britain.
Children would still get preferential treatment. Women and men are now more likely to be seen as having an equal rights to that place on the lifeboat. This is so interesting. If you want equality, there it is. Yeah. Well, so I don't subscribe.
So under fair use, I'm only showing these videos for educational purposes and critique. And it's interesting. So the women clapped. Is that because they put up an applause sign, or are they really clapping because women want? Are they saying they want to throw away the traditional role of men protecting women? I mean, do women really understand? Is that like, you know, I told the story of me wanting an onion at 4 and taking a bite and not liking it. Like, is that what women are going to find out? Is that what men need to do?
I think that that the majority of men are still quite chivalrous, and I think that young men don't know what to do these days. They don't know whether to open the door for a woman or whether to pay half the bill or whatever. And I think that's of our own making. A male friend asked me that exact question the other day, very seriously. He went, "Can I just ask, where is it? Where do we stand now? Can I open the door? Can I open the door for a woman, or is that now not the done thing?" Yeah. And he was saying, for example, would have been brought up in an era whereby manners were everything. I mean, we were taught manners as indeed we were. But he is a real man, and I would have to guess and say that the training that he had in his upbringing would say he definitely would be chivalrous.
Interesting. So, you know, that one of the other women said, you know, you can't have it both ways, right? You want equality and you want men to protect you and be chivalrous. But then this woman turns around and says he's a real man because he would protect women. So, and I get it. She's older. She's old school. She grew up with that. But that I would say many women, even of the younger generation, modern, who are modern, would still be of that mindset. A real man, if you're a real man, you would still protect women. So, the article I just read, it talked about women being confused and hopeless and not being able to make decisions. Is that what we're looking at here? Is women are showing that they're incapable of making clear decisions. They don't understand the consequences. And you guys have heard me talk about this. Women do not have as strong a relationship with consequences. They're asking for things without understanding what they are really asking for and the consequences that come with it. What else do they say here?
I think he's pretty
He
first.
was, yeah.
I think most men are like that, but they are worried about getting it wrong. I mean, Mark's chivalrous, so you say it. He lets me get on the bus first and things like that. And he carries my bag and things like that. But I have to say, if we were in danger, I think he'd be off like a shot. Do you? Yeah. Well, we had to run away from this dog once. We thought this dog was going to get out. It was like a massive Rottweiler. And we thought, oh my God, this dog's going to get out. And I can't run. Not very good run. Were you wearing those shoes? No, I wasn't wearing those shoes. I'm not very good. I can't run. I'm just not built for running, and I'm slow, and I'm not that fit. He's really fit. He runs for miles and miles and miles. This dog was getting out, and we were both screaming. And next minute, I'm like, where's he gone? If the dog had got out, I would have been toast.
Hey, did that help the echo? It's a heavy echo. Interesting. All right, Fort, good to see you in the house, Fort. Very interesting. Let's see. Let's see if that helps.
But it's pointless, both of you being in. Yeah. So might as well just I only have to run faster than you.
Hey, did that help at all?
People say they'll do, they'll actually do in a crisis. But there's a similar vein, a couple of friends of ours, they did one of those sort of tip-over things on a roundabout, and the only injuries that she had, the wife had, was for her husband stepped up to get out. Oh,
Carmen's.
Are they still together?
Are they still together?
The election of Titanic, that film was ruined for me. Because that end scene, all I kept thinking was, there's space on that lot, right? There's space on that bit of wood she's floating.
She budged over a bit.
And she's busy saying goodbye to him, and he's shivering in the water, dying of hypothermia.
Yeah.
Get him up.
I thought that. I hear you. It's all very well getting passionate in the car, but budge up on the raft when it counts. Loads of you got in touch as well. Got some really good comments. Here we go. Salima, whoever it's easiest, this is in terms of, women and children first. Whoever it's easiest to get to should always be children first, and then men and women are equal. Shouldn't matter. Dave says, women want equality in everything now, which they should have. So in these situations, no, they should be treated the same as men. There we are. And Bevan says, seriously injured and those unable to help themselves first, then children, adults, and the elderly, regardless of gender. We did a poll as well, and 66% of you said women shouldn't be saved first. Shouldn't. Yeah.
I find
it first. 66. We adults and the elderly first, then children, adults, and the elderly, regardless of gender. We did a poll as well, and 66% of you said women shouldn't be saved first. Shouldn't. Yeah. Only
I find it fascinating how.
You guys see that? That's what's happening in Britain. 66% say women should not be saved first. 34% said yes. Exactly, Chris. They asked for equality. So I just read an article a few minutes ago about how it was saying women can be confused and they don't want to be saved from their own confusion and hopelessness. And the author of the article is a woman who said the way you don't try to save women because it's an insult, but what you do is you play them by lying to them and tell them how great they are, and then they will save themselves, which means you have to save them to help them save themselves by lying to them. So women are asking men to be players, and then they'll get upset. uh, so in Great Britain, they're saying, hell with that, save yourself. 66%.
People behave in disasters. And I remember reading about, I think it was that plane crash on the Hudson when everybody survived. And if you read the statistics, the way that people behave, so you get the people who save themselves, which is quite a small percentage. Then you get the people who actively save others. But the biggest percentage of all are people who just sit paralyzed with fright, not knowing what to do. They're just like, yeah.
And what's the percentage of people who get their bags out of the hole and walk out with their bag onto the wing? Because they do that. I'd love to push them in. Could you stop me getting off this plane because you're trying to get your bag? That's the end of you.
Okay. So a lot of things women deny. There are many women who are in denial about there's a difference in biology between men and women. And those differences affect decision making, risk taking. So the theory that women have had is that if you raise boys and girls the same, they will do everything the same. And Sweden is one of the most egalitarian countries in the world, and Sweden has been experimenting with that for decades. And they're still finding that women are making choices based on being female. They're making choices to want to save the world and help people, and men make choices to build things and create things and abstract things, and men still take more risks than women. So giving them access to equal opportunity didn't change how they make decisions. It's biology. And so if we now take that theory that women say it's all in how you're being raised, the question is, are men just being conditioned and indoctrinated, some of you say programmed, to save women? Like, what would happen, and that's what we're getting from this video I just showed, is that since women have demanded, I don't need your seat on public transportation, it's an insult, I can do it on my own, I don't need you, don't hold the door, all of these things are insults. Men have stopped doing it. And it's interesting, watching here in New York and listening to women complain on the subway, and even you see these pictures on YouTube, on Facebook and other places where you see women complaining that all the men are sitting and the woman is standing, and people say, well, what's wrong with this picture? So women have asked to be treated equally. And when I hear these women on a train in New York saying these young guys don't care and they let us stand, you want to be saved from being tired. You want to be rescued and protected. And yet you want to demand equality. So if we start teaching boys that you never save a girl or a woman, would we then really hear women complain? Would they be happy about that? Would their attitude towards men change? Like, you're on your own. Yeah, thanks. Good, good. Yeah, okay, good, good. Thanks, Chris. So there's the real question. Should we now just take the position as men as you're good, you'll handle it, you're on your own? And if we teach every little boy that every little girl is on her own, and all her tears of being helpless and I can't do it and this is unfair and you're on your own. Like, I would say that this has been a conditioning that has been passed down to boys and men for generations, for thousands of years, millions of years. And I bet cavemen didn't have these problems with women. They didn't have these problems. They didn't worry about equality. And, you guys have heard me talk. When I lived in the jungle in Belize with Mayan Indians, no electricity or running water, there was no equality. Even though the women could swing a machete, they could do all kinds of things, but they held. We save women from work. We allow women to take 60% more sick leave in the workplace. There are all kinds of things that we afford, we extend to women and not to men. Women complain that we want to save and help them. And then they'll complain that we're not real men for helping them. There's years ago, I guess it's about 2 decades now, Whitney Houston made a movie called The Bodyguard. And this guy did a really great critique on this and the kind of attitudes of modern day women and how they deal with men, and this whole notion of wanting to be protected and claiming to be tough and not needing protection. Like, it's a lot of talk. And this movie does a great job of depicting how this turns out. So he breaks this down. I want to share with you fair use. Under fair use, I'm doing this for educational purposes to critique. He does a really good job of looking at how Whitney Houston, and this was in the 90s, feminism was definitely in full swing. But he does an excellent job of talking about and breaking down the movie in different parts where you see this modern day attitude towards men who traditionally want to protect, and so women claim they don't want anything to do with traditionalism, except they still want men to protect and buy and spend. They want even protection financially, so that the man spends his money, finances the relationship. Even in marriage, man is responsible for all the bills, and his money is her money, and her money is hers. That's still under a domain of protection, financial protection. So how do men now get this point across to women that you signed up? You signed up for no longer wanting protection. Once you gave up on the ideal of traditional roles like the 1950s, men are demonized in the 50s, yet women want that same protection of the 50s. I mean, just think about it. When men came back from World War II, women felt protected. And in more than one way, right? The men from the U.S. saved everyone from Hitler, right? From the Japanese, from the Germans. So they were heroes when they came back. And everyone has probably seen that famous picture of the guy kissing the woman in Times Square. Women felt safe and protected with men, and that spilled right over into the 1950s. So women say they don't want that, yet they still want to hold men to that standard of manhood and protection. And men are not holding women accountable to that standard of the 1950s. So women are attempting to play both sides of the field. I don't want to be obligated to that, yet I want to obligate you to that. Men are allowing this. Great time for women to start building their own Fortune 500 companies. What's going on, West Coast? Thanks, man, for that, for the super chat. Hey, hey, Teddy, I'm the lieutenant and not a captain because captain job is save a hose, save hose. Hey, Chris, exactly. So, they want to trick men into marriage just so they can divorce men and take his money. But see, that's still they're still looking for protection. They're still looking for that protection and claiming they don't need protection from men. So let's take a look at this 1990s woman, Whitney Houston, and her attitude towards the guy who's being paid to protect her.
Hello.
Hi.
You don't look like a bodyguard.
What did you expect?
Well, I don't know. Maybe a tough guy.
You know what they say, you only have one first impression. In modern-day society, Whitney Houston's character Rachel would have swiped left on Kevin Costner's character Palmer because he doesn't look the part. Now, why is this a big deal? Women ask, where have all the good men gone? Well, a lot of times, these good men stand right in front of you, but you dismiss them because they don't look the part. Looks matter. Now, he doesn't look the part as a bodyguard. However, she is attracted to him. Women know off the bat if they would hit it. So when you introduce yourself or get introduced to a woman, pay attention to her body language and her eyes. You will know if she likes what she sees. It gets easier with experience.
See what I'm dealing with? I'm willing to go along with this thing as long as we all understand each other. I'm not gonna let this thing alter my life one little bit. Well, I think I'm safe when I'm here at the house. So I guess the main thing will be is when I go out.
Yeah, exactly.
Toiletry and all that stuff, okay? I don't want you to falling all over me everywhere I go.
So here's interesting. If you listen in the movie, Whitney Houston is attempting to dictate to the man who's a hired gun. He's hired to protect her. This guy is what? He was special forces. He knows about security and protection. And she's now attempting to tell him how to do his job. And I'm going to say that's a lot of guys have allowed that to happen. Like, so you have to give, if you've seen this movie, you see that Kevin Costner in no way tolerates this woman telling him how to do his job. He is a man's man and stands his ground in what he's there to do. But like I said, she wants to tell him how to protect. And just like that article I read, that it was perfect, right? It completely aligns with this. Women claim they don't want protection, but then they want to tell you how to protect them. And their advice is to lie to us and make us feel good. And that's how you save us and protect us. So let's go on.
The most important thing is this, though. I will not allow Fletcher to be affected by this.
Yeah, I was just, we'll have to tell the boy you got some other function, okay?
I don't want to think he's in prison either, so the grounds in the house must not be altered in any way. It shouldn't even be aware that you're here.
Marilyn,
Rachel.
there's been a mistake, a misunderstanding, so if you'll show me the quickest way out, I'll save us each a lot of trouble.
Dude stood his ground. And he's there to do a job, no nonsense. He knows his job. She's an entertainer. He's there to serve and truly serve and protect. He's providing a service. And a woman who has no clue how to do this is now ready to tell him how to do his job. I'd say this is where a lot of men have gotten into trouble in the US. Men have allowed women to dictate how to do everything and to do things that women don't even know how to do themselves. And they end up putting themselves in situations that then ultimately we need to pull out. Look at our society now. Look at it. Men are saying, let it crash and burn.
Love this.
Farmer spots
all of the red flags, including her being a single mom, and he's ready to go ghost. He does not want to protect this woman, and he lets you know why.
The house is wide open. People have no clue of what security is or what it takes to achieve it. I won't be responsible for her safety if she doesn't understand what's going on.
Come on!
The people who hire me, they don't have to be convinced to save their own lives.
He says something powerful here. I won't be responsible for her safety if she doesn't understand what's going on. Followed by, the people that hire me don't need to be convinced to save their own lives. Keywords: understand and convinced. You've heard women say you can't handle a strong woman. They don't understand that that is not a man's job. You need to handle yourself and stay in your lane.
So with that said, I'm going to sort of take that a step further. The amount of women who get in a man's face and I'll beat your ass and I'm not scared of you and all that. If a guy does that to another guy, we let them rumble. Why are men feel so compelled to save a woman who steps to a man as though she's a man? I'm not in any way advocating violence. I'm just asking, why are you attempting to save someone who's provoking violence? I mean, she's only doing it. Well, hell, I can't say she's only doing it because there's someone there to save her. Because according to Harvard Medical School, 70% of domestic violence is initiated by women. So, do women really need to be saved from themselves? Did the Greeks have it right?
We're not supposed to convince you to behave the right way. Like I have explained in another video, modern women are not here to cooperate with you. And Rachel shows you how that looks like.
Want to know the 5 best stocks to trade right now? Then listen up. Clorox?
Shut up! Shut up! Just shut up! He's through messing with my life, Bill.
Rachel, I'm getting goddamn sick of running up here every time he steps on your toes.
I know I don't want her doing anything she's always done.
I don't want her doing anything she's always done. The man's a fanatic.
So are the guys he's protecting you from.
But excuse me if I don't faint. I'll do what I want, when I want.
A lot of women have been told they can do exactly that. I can do what I want, when I want, with whomever I want.
Besides, when I want. Don't faint. I'll do what I want, when I want. Besides, I'm tired of hanging around a bunch of deadbeats. No offense, Tony.
One more time and I'm gone.
You remember something, Farmer. You work here. You work for me.
Rachel.
I do whatever I want, whenever I want. Remember, you work here. You work for me. Rachel is in grave danger and she doesn't understand how serious the situation is. This is something that we have to deal with in modern day society. What do women need men for these days? Men have become more of an indirect necessity. Next time when you go out, I want you to pay attention to something because we seem to take important things for granted.
Yeah, he's going to give some great examples here. And I've actually heard women say men don't add any value. Like men are not needed. They do nothing. I've heard this.
I want you to pay attention to the garbage truck and wonder what will happen if they stop working. I want you to pay attention to the groundskeepers. Pay attention to the street workers and construction workers. They work jobs that are essential to our society, and it's mostly men that work these jobs. We've come a long way and don't know or we don't remember where we came from. That's how this nasty attitude came to existence. Everything is outsourced. When we need something, make a phone call, press a few buttons, and voila. Now, of course, shit is going to happen. Otherwise, this wouldn't be a good movie. Now that shit happened, now she needs protection.
Look, I know this is kind of late, but thank you. I'm really glad you're here.
So she said, thank you. I'm really glad you're here. She said, I know this is a little late. Women haven't come to that realization. And as long as they keep having those women who say they don't need men whisper in their ear, women may never come to that realization. Even if you let it crash and burn. You let it crash and burn, there's a likelihood women are just going to say, this is the fault of men. You should have never let us do this. You should have known better. Like they know this. It's like they're so worried that admitting that they do need safety and protection from men. But, I don't know what they need safety and protection from, because if you look at their safety from weather, we just had a hurricane here in the New York area. Unless you were out in it, men built all kinds of building structures that are safe enough to go through a hurricane. So people were safe. We don't have, you call New York City the concrete jungle, except there are no lions and tigers. Yes, women get raped, except the U.S. is the first country in the world where more boys and men get raped than girls and women. So, and a lot of those men who become rapists were men who were raped by women when they were little boys. We don't want to talk about that as a society. So we've built so much safety. There technically are no threats to women. There are certain places they don't need to go. You don't take a risk. Could be dangerous. And there are places that not even men should go. Could be dangerous. I was actually crossing the street a few days ago with a woman, and she and I were going across a red light, and I said, come. And she says she takes her time, and the car is coming, a van is coming, and her attitude was like, they have to stop. Like, see, with that kind of attitude, when that woman gets run over by a car, she's going to say it's that car's fault that she was run over. Unbelievable.
And I'm going to try to cooperate. Frank, I need you.
She said, I'm going to try and cooperate. She didn't say I'm going to cooperate. I'm going to try. This is very interesting. Now she needs him.
I'm afraid. And I hate my fear. Please protect Fletcher. If anything ever happened to him, Frank.
I'm going.
Fletcher's her son, as he said. She's a single mother.
To try to cooperate. I'm afraid, and I hate my fear. Modern women hate the fact that they need men. It doesn't matter how you slice it. This is a man's world. Cooperation is needed in order to protect you. In this clip, women are talking about an island only for women.
My utopia is here. Oh, hallelujah. Guys, I have been waiting to tell you this. I'm now moving to an island off the coast of Finland. Okay, interesting. All right, because it's going to be an all-woman island. It's literally my...
Man, I support this wholeheartedly. If there's going to be an all-woman island, I'd love to see it. Like, this will be the greatest reality TV show in the history of humankind. I'd love to see women pack up, move to an island. I hope this woman isn't just talking. This video came out March of this year. So Hannah Cranston and Brooke Thomas, let's see if they just talk.
Dream come true. Except for that, like your dream whole procreation. One day we're gonna solve that. And we'll be free.
I'll put the link in the description so you can see the full video. They talk about it and they come to the realization that it's not going to work.
Would you go on this trip? No.
Why?
Girl, you know I wouldn't go on this trip.
I think you like boys more than I do.
No, I wouldn't go on this trip though. Do you want to go on vacation with 30 of us? I think we need some quiet people.
The foolishness in that TV show Survivor, where it was men versus women on a deserted island, you basically had the same outcome in every version of the show. Men coming to the rescue because the damsels in distress can't protect themselves, can't feed themselves, and can't stand each other's company. The reason why I like The Bodyguard as an analogy is because it's clear what his job is. In modern times, there's a lot of confusion. Back in the days, a father would give away his daughter, and there are reasons for that. I'll read it from this site, brighthub.education.com. A female child in those days was known to be the property of her father, and so the transferring of ownership to her groom on her wedding day was indeed a legality. The tradition of giveaway would signify that the bride's family would no longer have control over her or her possessions, dowry, and that her husband would respectfully take on the responsibilities and obligations that her father once boasted.
Hey, and back in the day, more than 100 years ago, a man literally had the right to put his wife over his knee and check her, pull out that belt, spank her if she was out of control. You had that legal right to do that.
I agree that women should not be seen as property. However, if it's my responsibility to protect you, I'm going to need some form of control. In order for the bodyguard to do his job, he needs to be in control. When you look at the movie, one of the first things he's doing is change the security system and set rules for Rachel. I used to work in security for 2 years, and our job was to prevent things from happening. Prevention. When shit hit the fan, we took an L. Because now we need to run emergency protocol. We would get bonuses if we could run projects without calamities. That's why you shouldn't go to the club like this. That's why you need your father's approval before you go on a date. That's why you can't listen to that foolishness Cardi B and those whack-ass rappers are spitting. For modern women, rules are boring, abusive, controlling, you name it. The modern woman is all strong and independent, but when shit hits the fan, she will expect men to be there like Superman.
See, and that's why it would be excellent for women to have their own island, so that they can have no rules and they all make high salaries, and they figure out that the trash piles up and oil needs to be drilled. Even if they want to make renewable energy from compost and solar panels and all that, either they're going to have to manufacture them, or they're going to have to figure out how to have trade agreements with other countries, and they buy them from them. And Chris, I like what you said. The Finland government would save them. Finland is another one of those egalitarian societies, but I don't. You could say on one hand, women having an island would be a great lesson for them. I would say it's more of a case of, if you have a barrel of apples and you see the bad apples, pull them out and put them somewhere else. Just the women who don't want to be cooperative and believe they don't need protection from men, even though everything around them is giving them protection that women had no hand in. from planning, from financing to manual labor. And yet they say that they don't need us. So those women will be perfectly justified in packing up and leaving and never coming back. Like to be branded like the Scarlet Letter. You don't come back. You live out your lifespan on your own island.
That this meant me. And not one man, black, white, or otherwise, came to the black woman's defense. Not one. And what I saw was gleeful delight from men of all races.
This video has officially been highlighted.
So when you leave them out there, that's exactly what it looks like. That woman complaining, no one came to my defense, no one came to my rescue. You're as a woman, you're allowed to start an entire altercation and then step back and let men fight that out. And West Coast is not Captain Save Hose, right? So this really still comes down on men and leaving women out there to deal with their own stuff. And it's also interesting that women manufacture problems that don't exist, is a good way to put it. And one of the perfect examples
on a college campus,
is this whole idea of rape culture on college campuses, and women claiming they need to be protected from all these bad things that are happening. And this is going to be a perfect example, and this guy is going to lay out the facts. This is a perfect example of how women claim that there are all these threats and problems and they need to be protected from, and they technically do not exist, not in the way women are claiming that they are. So do they want protection, or are they just attempting to manufacture propaganda to make men look like these horrible beasts? I mean, we are beasts, and I think some women that hasn't computed yet. So I'm going to do another screen share. And this guy, Ben Shapiro, very sharp guy, his response to this woman presenting victimhood.
On a college campus, as you know, the sexual assault rate is incredibly high, and
So she just told a lie. And this is an example of women saying they don't need protection, but then they manufacture lies to talk about how much they are threatened by men and their safety and well-being is threatened.
High, and the sexual assault rate, the sexual assault rate is incredibly high, and the schools and many people will do anything they can to cover it up. So how do you think that if there's no rape culture, how can we make a community or a society that women feel, or men feel, more comfortable coming out and reporting their assault?
Okay, so number one, it is not true that the rape rate on college campuses is higher than it is anywhere else in society. In fact, it's significantly lower. College-aged women in the United States who are at colleges are raped at a significantly lower rate, according to the Department of Justice statistics, than college-aged women who are not on college campuses. College campuses are a lot safer than women are in the general public. So the idea that there's this epidemic of rape that's happening on college campuses, no, there's rape that happens, and women who are usually targeted in rapes happen to be young, right, just as a general rule. And that means that...
Right, as a general rule, right? So younger women are being raped. So men are not chasing 50-year-old women to rape them. It's not that doesn't happen, but it's an act of, I mean, rape is partly an act of sex, but it's really mostly about power.
Women on college campuses are going to be targeted more than women who are 60 years old. But that does not hold true when you compare apples to apples, right? When you're comparing young women on college campuses to young women off of college campuses, the rape rates off of college campuses are much higher. Also, the statistics that are put out, like 1 in 5 women being raped on a college campus, these are just not true. There's no evidence to bolster that. The study that is often cited about that is a study that has been thoroughly debunked by a couple of professors at Northeastern University. It was basically a self-reported survey in which people reported their sexual assault, and the classification of sexual assault included things like unwanted kiss, which maybe not something you want, but it's also not rape. Right? And so trying to group all these things together is a bit of a mistake. As I always say to people, if the rape rate were 1 in 5 on college campuses, I would not send my daughter to college, right? I mean, I'd find another way to educate her where she wasn't on a college campus. With that said, how do we actually alleviate the problem? Well, the way that we alleviate the problem, and I think it's necessary to mention here that criminal violence rates in the United States have been significantly dropping since the mid-90s. So the crisis on campus, I think, is overstated. But with that said, every rape is an act of evil. Every rapist who is found to have committed a rape should be castrated or killed. I mean, and the truth is that men, the actual guardians of women against rape are men, right? And it has to be men. And what that means is that men have to be taught from the time that they are young that they are protectors. And I hear all these slogans like, teach men not to rape. My father never sat me down and said, Ben.
See, now this is interesting. He's giving a solution for women to feel protected, and women are telling us they don't need our protection. See, this is just an example of women making decisions that are not in their best interest. I mean, if women really were capable of protecting themselves, they would have packed up and left. I mean, if they're really oppressed. See, there are lots of conversations that men or women are having, and they are so unproductive. There's way more that we could accomplish as a society where we're being constantly bombarded and distracted with noise of wanting equality without being able to ever step up to the plate and deliver equality, and not wanting protection, and then crying, as you saw in the last video at the end, the woman crying, saying no one protected Black women, no one was protecting us. You can't scream, I don't need a man, and you're a dog and you're worthless to me. And then one side of your mouth is saying I don't need you, on the other, you're crying and saying I didn't feel protected. And this guy is given a solution, which is men protect women. But do women really understand the value of the protection that men provide just by being there? Just by having a father at home is protection. It is a way of your family being protected. Just the presence. And women seem to have dismissed that. Yeah, I mean, there are some things that are going to have to be enforced, and part of this is as men, how are you raising your daughters? Are you teaching your daughters that men are worthless, or are you teaching them to be good wives?
When you're out there at night with a woman, do not rape her. Like, this was never something that had to be said, because what my father taught instead was an affirmative virtue that you're supposed to treat women with. You're supposed to treat women with respect. You're supposed to treat them as individual human beings made in the mold of God. You're supposed to be protecting them. And men have a special role in protecting them, because men are built to either protect or destroy. This is what men do throughout human history. I can see it in my 2.5-year-old son. He's either building blocks or he's knocking them down. That's what he does, right? And if we as a society deprive men of their role in protecting women, and we say, you know what, treat women like a disposable object. In our sex-first world, treat women like they're a disposable object, and act as though women and men treat sex exactly the same, and then feed them a steady diet of media where we suggest that all women really want it. Right? Feed them the blurred lines mentality that even when a girl says no, what she really might mean is yes, because all girls really kind of want it.
So he said something, men, they protect or they destroy, right? We build skyscrapers, we demolish them, we have wars We have wars to overtake another country, and we have a military to protect we have a police force. If women understood the biology and the aggressiveness that's just so natural in men, and you see it even in other mammals, you see it amongst male chimpanzees, lions, horses, dogs. You watch how the males play. There's a violence there's a playfulness that appears violent to women, but it's part of who we are. It's our biochemistry. If we were allowed to walk around and be as dangerous as men really are, women would have a very different perspective. They'd find out that they're not being oppressed. If anything, men are being oppressed to be civil in the company of women. I mean, we had days when, men would 10 paces and you shoot a duel, or you pull out a sword and you fight. You have a sword fight. Unfortunately, some of them were fighting for women, her honor. But men have ways of resolving things. I lived in DC. You guys have probably heard me say this. There was this decent restaurant right on Capitol Hill, and they had pictures of senators. And I was asking the manager something about senators and celebrities. And he told me Ted Kennedy and about 2 other senators were never allowed to enter that restaurant again. Why? It was a bar restaurant. And Ted Kennedy and 2 other senators got into an argument, and man, they started throwing bottles and shot glasses across the room. They wrecked the restaurant. These were senators in office. And this is a violence that men have. It's not to be debated as right or wrong, but this is a way that we express, and women don't understand that they have been protected from that level of violence that men innately possess. We are protecting women, but if we were let off the leash, you'd see a very different world. I mean, I spoke to a guy who was an Orthodox Muslim, and he told me the Middle East was that. It was this reckless, no laws, men just raped women, women walked around with no clothes, like sex was rampant, alcohol, they just drank and drank. And he said Muhammad saved them from their own recklessness. That is why Muhammad is held in such high regard. So from what he was describing, women really were not protected from men's violent nature. But in this society, women really are and don't realize it. Maybe we need to bring those old stories back so women can understand the difference, right? So, you do a test drive, you go to a Cadillac dealer, and then you go to a Mercedes dealer, and you choose which car you want, or you drive an old Mercedes compared to one today. Women don't have that contrast. They really take for granted and believe they are entitled, and then you tell them they are entitled. What else does this guy say? It's almost over.
You do that, and you're walking into a buzzsaw. It's a huge mistake. I mean, listen, one of the reasons that I never had any of these problems and will never have any of these problems is because I'm a proud virgin until marriage, right? I mean, this is something that I think is actually a good thing. I think that promulgating societal standards of virtue and men defending women and men standing up to other men who won't defend women, that's actually what we need. But that can only happen when radical feminists say that we want men to do this. They're not insulted when a man opens a door or tries to pay for lunch. They're not insulted when a man says, listen, my job is to be the sheepdog. My job is to be the protector. Men and women are different, and they have different roles. And if men are not protecting women, historically speaking and currently outside of Western civilization, women do not have the capacity to protect themselves. That is just a fact of human nature. In every other society for the vast majority of human history, women were victimized by men. All the gains that women have men in Western society are due, yes, to women, but they are mostly due to a virtuous civilization that cultivated virtue in men. It was good men who made the world better for women. It wasn't just women who made the world better for women.
And now women are saying they don't need our protection. They don't need our help. They can do it all on their own. Yeah, Chris, that's a big problem. Men have become such pussies. They are scared of their daughters. That's a huge problem. And women typically do not have the same relationship to consequences that men have. So they are oblivious to many of the dangers that exist, and so they want things without fully comprehending the consequences that come with it. I listen, guys. The power for men is if you want to complain, pack up and go. That video that where the two women, well, actually two women, but one woman was smart enough to say she wouldn't go. The white woman says she wants to go off to this island off of Finland where it's all women. I'm trying to figure out why are women still here? Like, why haven't they left yet? And I know most women are not going to go, but even if you took those 10 million women who claim to not need men and do not want protection, they do not want the traditional roles. Those women should leave and they should show that they are more than capable of doing it on their own. Because as long as they live in a civilization that has been completely planned, financed, constructed, built by men, they are under the protection of men. It's no different than your 13-year-old living in your home and claiming they don't want to live under the guidelines of their parents. They're 13 and they believe they could do better. So, go then. You're 13, you want to live on your own, just go. If women want to carve out a place and build their own civilization, it is time for them to do it. And I don't mean that as hyperbole. I mean that as literally. Like, that is when women start complaining about men are oppressing us and men do this, then why are you still here? Why haven't you packed up, left, and taken all the women who see the world the way you do and built your own island? Like, that is the solution for women. And the more men put that right in their face, the more women will have to actually look at themselves and what they're actually saying, because they live under our protection. I said at the beginning of this, the only thing stopping El Chapo and any drug lords in Mexico or any other country and the MS-13 gangs from El Salvador, the only thing stopping them from coming into the United States and pillaging it is men. And if you took out all the men, this would be Mexico. They would come in and they would storm it. They take over. The El Chapo's drug lord, his organization has already fought against the Mexican military and won a battle. They're fearless. And as that guy, this video I just showed, said, if you're going to go head to head, women to men in a battle, in an actual, not this run your mouth battle of the sexes, a real battle the way men fight, women will be crushed. So right now they are under our protection. They're under the protection of men that are here, and they're under the protection from men who would invade from another country. And it's like they are oblivious to this. They're walking around with no clue that they're being protected just by our presence. Hey, yeah, Tony G, good to see you in the house. Single mothers raising boys will not teach their boys what it takes to be a man who stands up for values. They'll domesticate their boys to roll over and show their belly. Yeah, ugly, isn't it? And then say he's a real man for doing that. And so now you have a whole stable of men who believe going along with whatever women say. At the beginning of this video, I told the story when I was 4 years old at my grandmother's. Grandma goes off to work. Her brother leaves his girlfriend in charge of myself and my other cousins. We were all around the same age, between 3 and 6 years old. And I said I wanted an onion. I saw Little Rascals and Alfalfa ate scallions, so I wanted an onion. And she kept telling me, I don't want that. And I kept telling her I do. And finally she gave it. You know, at 4 years old, that sucker, that onion it looked big. It was huge. And I took a bite out of it. And it was a lesson that lasted me a lifetime. It was a horrible experience. And she told me, finish that onion. I took at least 3 bites and I found the trash can in the bathroom and got rid of it. But I learned a valuable lesson at 4 years old. That lesson women have not learned, and it is the lesson they need to learn. They need to take a bite out of what they are demanding. I demanded an onion. I was 4. Like I get a pass for being 4, but I only had to learn that lesson once. And it seems women do not realize they are actually under the protection of men. So maybe it's a lesson, not maybe. It is a lesson that they need to learn and never be released from that lesson. Once they go off to that island, that's it. Yeah, actually, yeah, Tony G, the abortion. And I think they're trying to fight that abortion law in Texas. I hear about it often. So women listen, Eve took a bite of the apple. She was a feminist. She could do things her own way. As you saw in the movie, I can do what I want. And that was Eve's attitude, right? So we get a lot of women that have the attitude of Eve. I can do what I want, when I want, the way I want, with whomever I want. And now we need to give women an onion to bite into. A raw onion, not cooked. A nice raw onion, a big one, and let them live on that. Yeah, Tony G, unfortunately, yeah, the whole single mother. Even that. Well, you know what? Women are kind of learning that the single mother route is a bad move. Yet they're still doing it. I mean, just seeing some of the Instagram videos and YouTube of women saying they were impregnated by some thug guy, and she's going to have sex with a good boy and lie and say it's his, right? So they're still putting themselves. The point is, she put herself in a situation with a guy who would never be a good father, but she allowed this guy to impregnate her. And now she's scrambling to find some dude who will be a good father and just pin it on him. What, 33% of paternity fraud, right? Of children born is paternity fraud. Women are protected from that. There should be a mandatory law for a paternity test every child that's born. Just, I don't care. Just mandatory. Exactly, Chris. They will blame men. Even if you let it crash and burn, they will still blame men, hands down. Sure, I can open it up, Chris. I just dropped the link, Chris. You know, Tony G, it would seem that women, the older women would have to admit that they either had no clue what they were doing, they made a lot of bad moves, and they would have to educate younger women about all the bad moves they made, the things they had no clue about, and possibly still have no clue about. What's going on, Big 125? And that is a big, nasty tasting pill to swallow. And I showed a movie where Whitney Houston in the movie Bodyguard, said to Kevin Costner, "Hey, I need you." And women don't want to say that, and the only reason they don't want to say that is they've been told they don't. Like, they've been completely brainwashed to believe they don't need men, and men serve no purpose. Like, I,
they've been lied to their whole life. Think about it, Ted.
Exactly.
We always tell them that they're nurturers, but they, for some odd reason, when left alone to their own devices, they end up killing their children and feeling no remorse.
Absolutely.
And then we tell them that they're so intuitive and they're so smart. Well, how is it that they have such a high rate of single motherhood by ain't shit men?
Absolutely.
And they are literally like,
choose the wrong guy, period, right? How could you, if you have women's intuition, how could you ever choose the wrong guy?
Exactly. And if you know what a real man is, how come you can never seem to get pregnant by one? How come it's not until after you're 35, them titties are sagging, you got stretch marks everywhere, and no man is checking for you. Now that you're gonna say that you're saving yourself from a real man and you are the table. What? It's like all these women, they go, have you ever watched Kevin Samuel's show?
I have. I've seen his show.
It's funny, man. I give it to him. He is Kevin Samuels is the ultimate pimp. He gives these 30-plus-year-old women high hopes that there's this crop of men making over $100,000 a year, some over $300,000 a year, that want 30 to 40-year-old women. I've never seen a man making that much money wake up in the morning and say, you know what? I sure would like some old pussy today. No, there's a reason why you see these old men on boats with nothing but young women around them. Because that's what we men want. And women still haven't figured out that their best interest is to skip college and marry men in their 20s. Even these men nowadays that have daughters, they know the successful failure for women, the formula for failure for women is to push them to go to college, push them to start a career, and then pursue, getting married and finding a husband. That's the formula that's been failing women for the last 50 years. What do these men with daughters do? They push them to do the same thing.
Yep.
Because they don't want to hurt their feelings and tell them, look, you can't make it on your own. You can't. This is a man's world.
Well, I not too long ago told a woman, she's divorced, has 2 daughters from the marriage, and they're young. They're under, 8 and 13, like that. And she told her daughters, don't even go to college, get your career. Then by the time you're 32, 33, you start looking for a husband. And I said, the train will have left the station and they won't even be considered, especially by the top guys. It's not going to happen. And there are women, I'm hearing women attempt to refute that a woman who's 35 or older is not that big of a pregnancy risk. That, of course, those are only women who are 35 who are attempting to refute that. So, no, that's all right. So, I was just saying that.
Well, yeah, think about that. She knows that after 30 men stop checking them, yet she's still willing to lie to her daughter. These women want their daughters to be just as miserable as they are.
Yep. So I told her, I said, you have to think about it. You meet a guy at 32, 33, he's going to need time to get to know you. So 2-3 years, you get married at 35, and he's now having second thoughts. Why should I marry a 35-year-old woman who's going to have pregnancy complications? Forget you. I'm going to, at the oldest, 28, and get to know her. I'll marry and we can have kids. She's having kids by 31, 32. But I'm not chasing the woman who's going to be 35 or 40 when we have our first child. No.
And I agree with you. 28 is pushing it. 28 is seriously pushing it for a woman. And here's another thing that women they've really been taught that men are stupid, right? And to the point where they actually believe it, and they don't think that we see. They compartmentalize everything, right?
Keep going, Chris. I'll be right back.
Well, they don't understand that we can't compartmentalize everything. So we look at these older women who have all this college student loan debt, and we know that once we marry them, they start having children. They're going to want to stop working. Well, when you marry them, you inherit their student loan debt. So now you've got this old bitch with a kid, and then all this debt that you have to pay off on top of whatever bills you already had coming into the relationship. And most men are minimalist. So we have very little bills. We're pretty frugal with our money, you know. We have our toys that we buy, but even then we budget for our toys. We'll go out and get side hustles to pay for those rims on the car, pay for the new supercharger that we want to put on our car or whatever. You know, we work for whatever we have, you know. They want everything given to them. And when they realize that they can't earn it, they want to marry a man just to take what he has so they can buy it for themselves. Men need to just walk the fuck away. Stop believing in all this Disney fairy tale shit. These bitches do not love you. They never will. It is not in their nature. Women are a human fucking virus.
So there's a guy said, seems like such wisdom when I was talking about older women admitting that they made poor decisions and were not sure what they were doing. He said, seems like such women by older women are nothing more than 60-second TikToks. So that's what they're doing. That's how they're educating. And instead of telling women, hey, look, feminism was a dead-end street. It's going nowhere. None of us won. Like we didn't get anything. And you guys,
they lost. They lost their identities. They lost.
Right. They lost. And you know, it was interesting. I've talked about this before. In the late 80s, the Wall Street Journal wrote a huge article about these three women who all in their mid 40s. They chased their career, they chased money, and they got it. And then they woke up and were like, I'm in my mid 40s. I'm not married. I have no children, and I have no chance. I don't even have a prospect for a husband. So these three women got together and went on tour around the United States to high schools, telling young girls, don't be like us. It's a trap. That you need to decide, start thinking now in high school as teenagers, if you want to get married and have children, and by what age, and you need to put a drop dead date on that and not chase your career. You need to make sure you find a man who's qualified to be a husband. Well, those women were going around educating women, and the feminists shut them down. They saw those women as enemies. What's going on, Nani? Period. Good to see you in the house.
Go ahead. Here's the problem. You got those women, right? So they get to educate women for 1 hour, right? They get to sit down and educate women for 1 hour. And then those little girls, they leave there and they get to listen to Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion and all this other feminist propaganda that tells them they're winning and that they're getting the bag, which they're so dumb. They claim to be educated, but they refuse to accept facts when you show them to you. That women claim that they're out, that they're living this best life, and that they're doing the best, and blah, blah. But when you show them the numbers that they're earning less than men, and that these are verifiable statistics, they refuse to acknowledge them. And I'm like, how can you claim? Okay, I can understand. Being educated means you have the knowledge of stats or whatever. It doesn't mean you're intelligent. It doesn't mean you know how to apply this knowledge. Right. It just means that you've been informed, right? So how can you walk around with this piece of paper that says you've been informed to its highest degree to where you should be able to recognize other statistics at that level, but you ignore them? So when you show them that how they're losing compared to men, they just refuse to accept it because they don't like it, because it hurts their feelings.
Yeah. And,
so their own feelings means more than their education.
Well, I did a show addressing that, and I'm gonna say, sort of bullet point what I said. But we have a woman in the chat. She said we need more positive female influences. So I'd like to hear, are there examples, and what would those positive female influencers be talking about? So here's something else that happens, Chris, and women don't want to address this. Uh, a lot of guys think that they look for telltale signs of promiscuous women, like a lot of tattoos, different color hair.
Tattoos, piercings.
Right. But listen, here's the problem. There are a lot of women who don't wear tattoos, no piercings, no colored hair, and they're well educated. They have postgraduate degrees, right?
Uh-huh.
And those women are just as much as promiscuous as the tattooed and pierced, they call hood rats, right? Because some of those women are hood rats with law degrees.
Right.
So here's the problem. And women, and this relates directly to what you said about statistics. You give women statistics that if they have sex with 6 men, they're 3 times less likely to be in an emotionally stable relationship. And the higher that number goes over to 6, the more they are emotionally traumatizing their brain. And when you emotionally traumatize your brain, it affects your brain's ability to function optimally. And ultimately, it starts to reduce your IQ, your ability to reason and make decisions. And so women are dumbing themselves down by attempting to do what men do, which affects their decision making. So they're getting fat, right? They're choosing poor food. They're choosing poor men. And they're giving poor advice to women under them because they are literally killing off their own intelligence by attempting to do what men are that nature. Listen, nature made this decision. You can't say this is a patriarchy.
Right.
Nature decided that women, you don't need to sleep with a bunch of guys. And men, we set men up so that they are capable of doing that. They can impregnate multiple men. Men can impregnate multiple women in the course of days and weeks and months. And women don't have that capacity. So while they're out killing their own decision making and intelligence, their decision making becomes just worse, right? They're dulling their own intelligence, making it more difficult for them to comprehend that you are now in a downward spiral. And if we talk about this to protect them from their own self-destructive, self-saboteur behavior, it's mansplaining, and we don't know what we're doing. So they've created a trap that's almost inescapable for them.
Yeah. Anytime you try to explain something to them, it's considered mansplaining. And it doesn't matter how, it doesn't matter if it's to help them or not. If you try to explain anything to them, it's mansplaining. These women have degrees in biology, but they ignore biology. They ignore the fact that if you're in college and you bang 20 dudes, you have just eliminated the possibility of you ever having a fruitful, loving marriage. It's gone. It was gone after 5.
Well, especially with the guy you consider to be quality, because
right.
men are saying, "I don't want you. You've been with 20 guys. You're off limits for me now. I don't want you." And if you're going to blatantly lie about it, then how could you be proud of it and then have to lie about it at the same time?
Right, but think about it. They have, even when they get the quality guy that wants to stick around, they have so much male DNA within themselves competing with each other that they don't value that guy wanting to stick around. They always think they can do better than him because they have so much male DNA inside them competing with each other. It's disgusting when you think about it.
Well, and they even say that it can affect how your child looks, right? So that DNA gets mixed in with your the embryo that you planted into your wife's body, and
yeah,
so it's like it ends up looking like 2 other guys and not you.
And you couple that with the fact that these women, they are having so much sex that you have to get a paternity test done because they don't know who the father is.
Mandatory. Should be.
Yeah,
Should be
it's just women. They have become absolutely disgusting, and I feel sorry for any man out there still wanting a relationship with a modern woman. How can you look at how they act in public, listen to the things they say, and you still want to wake up next to one of these demons? What the hell is wrong with you?
So
You have to be sick to want that.
what you said is interesting. So the modern women still expect men to be the traditional man.
Right. They want to be 2021 women while we have to remain 1950s men.
So we have a woman in the chat. She lives in Australia. Like how?
Tell her to hit the link. Tell her to hit the link and come on up here and talk.
How do men reconcile that? So women are claiming they're modern, and
the number one thing they have to do is be willing to sit down at the table and talk. So tell her ass to hit the link.
Hold on. So how do men reconcile that women are claiming to be modern and they want equality, and yet they still demand that men be traditional, which means that men are protecting. The topic, should men protect women? Women are still looking for financial protections, and that includes going on dates. And if we're on a date and someone says something the woman doesn't like, a man is to still protect her honor, just like 200 years ago. If we're married and there's a noise downstairs, we're not drawing straws to see whose turn it is to go downstairs. The man is expected to do that. And those are all traditional values.
And that is part of the problem. That is the problem, Ted.
Well, hold on. Women don't want anything to do with anything that smells like a traditional value. So how are men to I'm asking Nani, the woman, or any woman who's in here, to help us understand, how do men reconcile? Women want to be modern, no rules, and they want men to follow traditional rules of the 1950s. What were you going to say, Chris?
The problem is they keep asking for equality that we won't give them. So when you're with a woman and you hear that bump in the middle of the night, give her the gun and tell her to go downstairs. And tell her, while she's downstairs getting that gun taken from her, getting raped, you climb out the window and go next door to the neighbor's house and call the cops.
Right. Yeah. When you come back up, let me know. I'll dial 911. Right.
Did you see the video on World Star of these two female cops in Australia that tried to just force a guy to wear a mask in public so they would arrest him? This guy whooped both of their asses. And if you look at him, Ted, I promise you could beat this guy up. And here it is, these two trained female police officers couldn't do nothing. They were literally running, and they had guns attached to the side.
Okay. Yep. So here's one of her responses, Chris. I'm not trying to justify promiscuity. I don't follow those lifestyle choices, but I look back at times where polygamy was a way of life, where men and women actively partook in much sexual activity. Then she said, to attain the strongest sperm to create the alpha lineage. So a lot of times women are so.
She just said, Ted, by her logic, Woodstock was great.
So let me hold it. So here's this. Okay. So here's the thing with this idea of alpha, right? There have been studies, even by Harvard, that said, and I think I did a show on this, that it's not the alpha the woman wants. It's
a stigma.
It's the leader. See, a lot of guys, you go into corporate America, and there are guys who come in like, I'm an alpha and I can do this and that. They're not less necessarily the smartest dudes. They're not open-minded. Those guys who come in as alpha and remain like alpha, they stay at like a mid-level manager. Like they don't go anywhere. It's the guys who are smart enough to to either hire an executive coach and unlearn that, or they're intelligent enough to know how to leverage other people, right? That means they know how to listen. They're leaders. There's a difference between a leader and an alpha. And an alpha is not necessarily intelligent. That's why they don't go
Right.
beyond mid-level. So a lot of women are chasing after dudes who are alpha and end up in prison. And what those women end up doing is perpetuating low IQs. So she's destroying her brain's ability to function. And then she gets with a guy who's not very intelligent. Intelligence is hereditary. And I did do a show on this because I talked about this guy, Charles Murray, who wrote a book called Coming Apart. And he talks about this class of people who he calls the super upper class, where high IQ women and high IQ men are coming together, and their marriage rates are not being affected by the, what's happening amongst the masses. They are consistently getting married. Marriage rates have not dropped, and divorce rates have been always, I think, in the single digits, like 9%. They're very low. And what they're doing is the women know how to cooperate, they're intelligent, and that intelligence is being passed on to their children. And this has been going on at least since the mid-60s. And those children are being raised in an environment where they're well protected. And they're so well protected that they're saying it's like a bubble. They don't realize that the rest of the country is in a downward spiral. So it's like that's the coming apart, right? They're so separate, but their children are becoming senators and CEOs of large and mid-significant companies and owners of sport teams. They're raising a very different kind of child, and these women chasing an alpha are just filling the prison system. Is what they're doing.
I agree, and I think economics does have a bit to play in it, but I also think that as much as economics has a role to play in it, that the fact that both parents there and both parents are residing to their natural roles and nature, meaning the father is taking the lead, and the mother understands that she's to follow him, and she does what he says, and he is the alpha and omega of the house. You know what I mean? So as long those gender roles are defined, I think that so the children grow up in a house that's balanced because everybody's accepted their natural role. They don't try to fight against natural order of life, and I think that is what is more. That is what is the more substantial reason for those children to grow up and be more intelligent versus economics. Now, sure, economics does come into it because you can afford higher institutes of learning, to help those children as they mature. But initially, I think it's the fact that they have balance because they have both parents there, and both parents reverting to their natural roles and gender roles in life under the same roof. And so they have a fit feminine woman who's going to teach her daughters to be fit and feminine and submissive, just like her. And the father's going to be able to teach the boys to be, go-getters, work for everything that they want, and be hard charging. Women cannot raise boys. Women cannot raise boys because women want everything given to them. And what happens is the boys grow up seeing these women just begging, and wanting all these handouts, and they think that that's what they're supposed to do too. They see their mothers arguing and tearing up grocery stores and fighting in public, and nothing happened to her, and they think that they can go out and do the same things too.
Yep. And Tony G read my book. I mean, this is so interesting. Because he said, first of all, I suggest that women are thrown into modern society values just as much as men are. Women got to acknowledge their radio station as the first step. And so in the book, even though the book is called Here's Why You Can't Find Love, the book is really about transformation in human dynamics. I don't care if it's at work, your friends, your family, or an intimate relationship. And I talk about this radio station that plays in people's head, and it controls and dictates what you think, say, and do. And the crazy thing is, the radio station that's playing in your head isn't your voice, it's what society has told you. So women have been told, if you get married, men are going to keep you barefoot, pregnant, in the bedroom and in the kitchen. Like, and that is like a radio station playing in women's heads. So women are fighting against that. They're fighting against men with that conversation driving them. And they're afraid of something that never happened. It didn't happen. It was a joke, right? That this is what men will keep you barefoot and pregnant. It was always a joke, yet women live like it's real. And that's the problem. So, what I'm saying about my book, it's really about life. And I just use relationships as something that most people can, almost everyone can relate to, an intimate relationship. So women are listening to conversations about how men are going to dominate you. And yet they'll turn around, they'll say on one side of their mouth, don't try to control and dominate me. You're trying to tell me what to wear and what to do, and you can't treat your daughter that way. And then on the other side, you're supposed to protect us. But yet they don't want to follow certain guidelines. And the woman said accountability for self is something that is highly underrated. Being conscious of who you are and what influences, ideologies are constantly at play are so integral. We're in a culture war. So yes, women don't want to be accountable for their own actions and behaviors and mindset, and it's almost like they're not even aware of where their influences are coming from, and this is a big problem. And see, Chris, I say that's the biggest problem. Men have to stop letting things into their home that are not in the best interest of the family.
Yes.
These ideologies are just that. Like that. This is what I love about the Middle East. It's like, don't bring that here. Ever.
Do you know what Middle Eastern men and Asian men don't do?
What's that?
They don't allow their children to watch TV, and that's what helps their women.
Yep.
They at the most, their children get to watch 1 hour of TV a day. 1 hour. So the outside world only has 1 hour to influence their child, which is not enough in the grand scheme of things. But if you look at modern American women or women and even women in Australia, oh God, those are the fucking worst. Australia is the worst feminist playground. They might as well just castrate their men there. Because the men in Australia are literally eunuchs.
Chris, so the woman in the chat is Maori. So she's part of the indigenous. She grew up with both parents and was given all the traditions. But I think she had to go through some ugly lessons about wanting to be a feminist and then going back to her culture, right? So and seeing her mother be a traditional Maori woman. So it's like she's played both sides of the fence and learned a lesson. So she's got an interesting perspective from that.
Right. But the average man in Australia is a eunuch because that society is so feminist. It's toxic. Like I'd be surprised if the men even stand up when they pee there.
Do you know they tried to enforce boys sitting in Germany? They tried to
in Germany.
In Germany, yes. They were.
There's not often you'll probably hear this, but this is the one time I'm rooting for the Nazis over there. But yeah, that's fucking crazy, man. It's insane. They watch all this, and that's my point about the TV. Asians and Arabs, they don't let their children watch TV, so they're not allowed to be influenced by this feminist propaganda. You see these little girls and these women, they watch these movies like 50 Shades of Grey, right?
Right.
Look at all these women who think that they can be whores and some millionaire is going to come along and marry them.
Pretty woman.
Pretty woman.
That for them.
You know what? It's not. Yeah, they're really insane. You know, as men, we can watch. You know, women watch rom-coms, romantic comedies, and they think that that's how life really works. Men watch action movies and sci-fi, and we're just like, oh yeah, that was a cool movie. Yeah, it's not gonna happen in real life, but yeah, it was cool to watch for 2 hours.
Hey, what's up, Ted?
Hey,
What's up, Ted?
Chris, we've got Red Pill Ghost. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Hey, man, it's been a busy week at college, you know, especially with like just the work and stuff. Hey, like I finally just the managed to like just to catch a stream and stuff, you know, like hey, thank God, like just because I'm taking 21 credits right now, so
Okay.
it'd be
Oh,
tough to
no,
make
that's a
time.
big semester.
That's a packed house, man. You have
Yeah, but the topic is should men like the protect the woman stuff? Well, I feel like you know our kind of like our like the feminist society has you know just like it kind of I don't know how to say this, but kind of like like kind of made you know like the woman you know just the more like how do I say this in like you know like the layman's terms, but it's just like I feel like the households and stuff. Like if they're like in a single mother household and stuff, they probably see like the violence, the dare and stuff, and they're, I mean, shit, they're probably used to it and stuff, and they love it. Like, also like, with the politics in general, I feel like you know, it's just like a lot of like the women are, they're, I mean. They're losing their femininity and like they're like the submissiveness and stuff, and now they become more like the masculine, and they're so used to violence now. They like a
Well,
bunch of
the reason why they're so used to violence is because they've never been forced to face any accountability from
yes sir
their aggressive nature. If it was like men, right, and the man was walking around being this badass, telling everybody he can kick his ass, eventually there's going to be some man to step up, punch him in his face, and put him in his place, right? You go to prison, it happens all the time. You have all these tough guys on the street. The minute they go to prison, they find out real quick they're not as tough as they thought because they don't have a gun and they don't have the boys there to help them jump whatever guy they have a problem with. They have to fight all these guys one on one, and they find out real quick I'm not as tough as I thought. So then they learn to take their role aside. Well, these women haven't had that. There hasn't been enough men willing to punch women in the face and put them in their place. There's not enough men like me.
yeah, we got specific laws now like just towards that and stuff
They
like
don't have,
battery.
and I'll tell you this: they don't have enough room to lock every man in this country up. They
Yeah,
don't have enough room in the prisons, and the problem is too many men haven't realized that yet. If
Yeah,
every man took the stance and said, "Fuck it, we're not taking your shit. You get out of line, I'm punching you in the face." Trust me, they don't have enough
for
prison
sure.
room.
Yeah, but like regarding your statement stuff, I feel like you know, like especially with the for me stuff, I'm from the generation. Like, hey man, I'm from the generation like the Z and stuff, and I noticed that the woman, like especially in my own like the culture and stuff, the like just the Asian American culture and stuff, they're just like, I don't know, like just there's some things you know just up with them sometimes. It's just like I know some stuff that that I know. I mean, like a couple, you know, just Asian females and stuff. Like they date like a bunch of, you know, like a bunch of guys that want to, you know, just like just, the one to throw like the violence at them and stuff. And it's,
Yeah, because that's in
it's
their
sad to
nature.
see.
Chris, let him finish. Let him finish.
It's sad to see and stuff, especially when like you're just. It's just sad to see. It's just sad to see and stuff, especially when like you're just Asian American, the community stuff. It's just like you know, I feel like you know a lot of these, you know, just the women are also broken, and they're very, you know, just influenced by social media, especially these, you know, these like these like the zodiac signs, especially. I don't know, like these freaking like the zodiac sign shit is stupid as shit. I'm sorry, but I don't. Yeah, but I don't believe in that. Like, the zodiac signs and stuff. I feel like I mean, it's a waste of time in general, and a lot of like the females want to just to go off that stuff, and they want to find a guy that's so-called a freaking just alpha male that kind of like like just that wants to like emotionally like freaking tear them down, and like the physically also, and it's sad to see. I mean, like I'm trying to speak up for like like the Asian culture and stuff, but like like the past like the 5 years I have I have freaking like the notice and stuff that the Asian culture is getting bad too and stuff, dating wise also too, and like the women there are just freaking like delusional and stuff too. So
You say you're Asian. Which country does your family originate from?
I'm from South Korea.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I was born in Seoul. Yeah,
Okay.
my family like the group and Seoul and stuff. Yeah, but I was like born here and stuff in the U.S. But yeah, I mean like from what I said and stuff, it's just like a lot of these just they're like oh my god the Asian females that are like that are actually like the born here and stuff. They're more like the prone to be like the masculine and the social media like the fanatics and stuff, and they're just very like delusional and man, I know some Asian girls that are dating criminals too. It that's the sad thing also. I mean um oh man, oh my god, the dating culture out there they see like just Asian women as like the submissive and stuff and feminine. But the sad thing is we're in the 21st century. Like oh man, oh my god, it's not oh my god, it's not like that anymore. So
Well, I'll say this. I'll say this.
yeah, go ahead.
Women are naturally going to gravitate to men that they fear, right? And
Yeah.
as an Asian, I mean, no disrespect, but you're one of the smallest men on the planet, right? Now your women are still smaller than you, right? But you're one of the smallest men on the planet. So since you're one of the smallest men on the planet, the last thing you can do is afford to give up any inkling of your masculinity. And in your culture now, that's what the men have started to do. They started to allow the women to push them around, to run over them, and this and that. So now, yeah, you're gonna have your women no longer choosing to date you and choosing to date. Hell, a lot of Asian women are choosing to date black thugs now.
Yeah, they are. Yeah,
You know,
wow, you do have a
and,
point right there actually too. That's
and
true.
white and these white bad boy bikers, are they doing it because that's who they're naturally attracted to? No, a woman is naturally attracted to uh a woman's first love and a boy's first love is always going to be their mother and father, right? For a boy, his first love is always going to be his mother, so he's going to find a woman who reminds him of his mother,
Definitely.
and she's always going to be the same color. Same with a girl, she's going to want a man that reminds her of her father. Now, the only thing that can change that is if she no longer deems the crop of men their minor of her father as being masculine, right? So if they walk around getting these fruity ass haircuts, wearing these tight ass pants, and acting like women themselves, they're not going to be attracted to them.
Oh my god.
And what do you have in Asian culture? You have all these boys doing this anime bullshit, getting these flaming faggoty looking haircuts, wearing these tight ass pants. It's true. Look at it. You know I'm not lying, bro.
It's so true. Oh man, this brother's stating facts. Yeah, it's
You know,
true.
you know. So you have the men over there dressing and looking like women. So yeah, the women are not going to be attracted to you. So yeah, they're going to be attracted to what they still find as masculine, and that's going to be that bad boy, that thug, because that's who they think can protect them.
The sad thing is too is that like from what I noticed and stuff, especially with the just Asian culture stuff, we have more broken, just the woman and a lot more, like the beta male, and just the men and stuff, like like shit, they're paying for like just escorts and etc. and stuff. I mean like just because like like they got no freaking like the looks in general or like just no personality stuff, and they're just like the beta like to the fullest extent, and it's just sad to see and stuff that a lot of these just a lot of these just Asian women are a lot of these just Asian women are so like like the broken and stuff, especially like in the West Coast, and yeah, especially in the West Coast specifically though.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's sad. It's a fucked up society. It's a fucked
Well,
up society.
they're becoming Americanized. That's all it is.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Western
like
culture is not cool.
very like Americanized, and they believe like those on the social media, like the stuff about like, I don't know, it's just like the feminist things and stuff that like they want to like, I don't know, just the name it on like on the top of my head, but I think I think it was just on like this. I follow this just IG page and stuff. I mean, oh my god, I forgot the brother's name. Mr. It was the red pill. I think the Rican and stuff. Like the guy had a. Oh man, oh my god, the guy had like a page and stuff about. Oh my god, the woman is they're kind of like just influenced by feminism. I don't know if like um oh my god oh my god the Ted saw that post, but it was a couple months ago. Like he posted something about like the feminism and then about like the woman stuff. I don't know the post. I forgot now.
Yeah, it's Asian women
You know.
Asian women, particularly in Asia, have been convinced now that women in America they're doing so much better than them, and that's who they should want to be like, and they don't realize how, because they see these women are acting out of control, and they're allowed to be out of control, they're allowed to do this and that, and society just comes in and they never face the repercussions of their actions. Society just comes in and pays for them, pays for their mistakes. So, but what doesn't happen is nobody gets to see at the end of the night when these women go home, and they go home to their beds and they're alone. Society, those Asian women, they don't see how depressed those women are. They don't see how many of those women are in therapy. They don't see how much drugs those women are using just to mask the pain of them fighting against their own female nature.
Oh yeah, for sure. The what else like I was gonna say and stuff, but yeah, I mean, I'm like what I said and stuff. I feel like the like just the Asian the community stuff they're not like aware of the red pill and stuff and the MGTOW and
Oh, they will become.
the
Trust
Sigma
me.
movement. So you know, not enough. No,
And,
I mean, like it's a possibility though. Like the problem is a lot of these, just the Asian brothers out there, man. Like I mean, they're hardcore Sims. I'm not trying to, just say for you and just all like the Asians and stuff, but it's just, like I have like the friends and stuff that do that simping shit. That's just like to like I'm like it's like yeah, it's like the pretty bad. I'm just to like the full extent though. So, but I just want to like just like just to keep the brothers aware and stuff of like of what's just going on and stuff. So yeah.
yeah, I'll say this, man. While you're there in college, you're in a very dangerous place. You are in a gynocentric feminist playground. Um,
Yeah.
keep your head low and do what you got to do to
Thank you,
graduate
sir.
college. But
Hey, thank you,
while you're
sir. Appreciate
there,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
while you're there, try not to spit out too many red
Yeah,
pills.
man.
Because,
Like for example and stuff, like I mean like I'm in my like the biology classes and stuff, like there's a lot of just masculine and just cocky women in my class and like oh my god, like these freaking women be 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 looking at like the masculine as hell. Like I told Ted and stuff in the past stream, man, like they be having these like broad shoulders. They be having these like strong jawlines, man. It's funny, man. They be doing them shoulder shrugs.
yeah,
Man, there's a lot of masculine women in their society too, man. Especially like, man,
yeah.
it's funny.
The problem is they think because they do something. Okay, so they think because they start working out, they lift weights, that now they're just badasses like men. But they don't understand physics. Okay, force still equals mass times acceleration. I don't give a shit how much you can bench. You hit me, you're 120 pounds. You're not going to do any damage, right?
Definitely.
I'm 220. I hit you and you're 120 pounds. I'm going to smash your face in. And that's what we're seeing with these trannies. That's what we're seeing with these trannies getting into MMA and just murdering these women. And I love it. I want more of it to happen.
Yeah, they're cooking them, man.
Across the board, even in high school. So
yeah.
Country
Did you see that one track event where the tranny was like damn near a lap ahead of the women? They were doing like the 200, and that tranny was like damn near a lap ahead of the of all the other women.
Hey, Country Boy, you have a lot of questions. I wanted to get you in a conversation.
Why is that Nani Pri?
Yep. So Nani Pri, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. Yes, she's born in New Zealand. She lives in Australia.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Hey, what's going on? What's up?
But yeah, to the Asian man, your culture is going to shit because the men have stopped putting their foot down on the women.
I agree with Chris, Ted.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Kendrick.
He's got a TV in the background.
Okay.
Hold up, Kendrick, 1 second. So Nani Piri, she responded to you, Chris. She said, and I live in Australia, will not come here, but I disagree with this subject statement. Australian men statistically are doing better than American men on this given topic.
No, they're not. No, they're not. They can't even own guns. They have to beg for their freedom from the government. Whereas the government is trying to take our freedoms away. Australia is full of a bunch of men that are eunuchs. The end.
This my thing, gentlemen. I would like to see a lot of these so-called hardcore feminists get locked up and incarcerated.
Kendrick, you're throwing them into their that'd be heaven for them, because then they just, especially now that they're locking trannies up with them, because they just be able to eat all the pussy and get all the dick they want, and they're still getting pregnant.
And they are, even in the criminal system, women are protected. They don't get the same time as men for the same exact crime.
Right.
So we are protecting Mr. Santos. We go in there, like he say, they do what you say, do it. You put some upside their head. It's time to put your foot down.
Well, that the Asian community they're taking their foot off the necks of their women here in the U.S. Now listen, China, on the other hand, is completely eliminating anything that diminishes men in the media.
Right.
No more less than masculine images of men, and boys are going to be taking classes on masculinity. So China has this 100-year plan that's supposed to, the 100 years is around 2054, somewhere around there. And that means there's another 100-year plan behind it. And my assumption is China wants world domination, and you don't do that with feminists. You do that with men.
Right. And, I mean, you look at what China's doing. China's pushing for their men to be men. What are we doing here in the U.S.? Trying to turn every man into a tranny.
Yep.
But that ain't going, Chris. That don't fly with me. They're gonna have to kill me before it comes to that.
And Kendrick, the population of trannies is so small, which is stupid for them to push it. try to push it on every man. You know, it's a very small community, very small group of men, which is why they shouldn't be in every TV show. Why they shouldn't be in every you know, all these gay men. They shouldn't be in every TV show. They shouldn't be in every movie. It's a false representation of them in general.
And to be honest with you, Chris, I don't even see that agenda going nowhere. It doesn't make sense to be pushing such an agenda and leave your country wide open to terrorists. That's a national security threat, man.
Well, it's already open. I mean, the birth rates across the board have dropped, so they don't. We're not going to have enough workers, children being growing up, whether they're black, white, Asian, or whatever, to replace the current working class. So the takeover from China or whatever country is inevitable because of feminism. There aren't enough babies. There aren't enough babies being born to replace the workforce. So the U.S. is going to have to outsource their labor.
Yeah,
and when that happens, we're going to be taking over.
The reason why they don't have to use the guns, because they know what's coming.
Yeah. If you don't have guns, then they can force you to take the vaccine. They can force you to do whatever. We can become another Australia.
But you know what, Chris? It's like you said, and I piggyback on what you said like a year ago. This thing gonna have to burn down, man, before we can come to any kind of census.
It has to. It has to. Take your foot off the brake and give them the equality they want, so we can go ahead and crash and burn and get it over with, so we can start the rebuilding process.
That won't solve it. It's not going to solve it because the women are still going.
But you're gonna have to let folks. But that's the thing, though, Ted. A lot of those women gonna have to die out in the wilderness. You're gonna have to let a lot of them die out.
Listen,
that's what I was telling you, Santos. Feminism on turn.
All women in the United States have been touched and educated about feminism. All of them, even the ones who claim to hate it and love being a housewife, they've all been touched by it. A lot of them don't realize it. If it crashes and burns, all the women are going to do is say, "This was the men's fault, and we should run it now going forward." They're still going to have listen, it's already happening. If it crashes and burns, they're going to stand on they're going to stand on the sideline like they've always done and watch men build it back up. If men,
but hold on. We don't build it back up. We give them the opportunity to do it. That's what I'm saying. Give them true equality. They think they can do better, right? So we know that if we take our foot off the brake, we let them run everything, it's gonna crash, it's gonna burn, right? But we don't stop there. Because remember, they told us they can do everything that we can do, including build. So we wait for them to fail at rebuilding everything. And then once that happens, there's gonna be a lot of people to die. Once that happens, then you tell them, look, shut up. We proved that you can't lead, and we proved that you can't rebuild. Now you shut up and go back to your rightful place in the kitchen and take your shoes off, bitch.
Yeah, that's
where it's coming to, please.
If you're gonna do that, if you're gonna do that, then you do that now. And see, men are afraid to do that now.
What I'm saying, though, their mind is messed up, Mr. Santos.
Men won't do it now, and letting it crash and burn, you're not going to build more powerful men out of a crash and burn, because life is, I know what it's like to live without electricity and running water. And most people in this country don't have a stomach for that.
Yeah, only a strong
I don't know what to tell them. Right, Chris. I don't know what to tell them.
I got
you're gonna have a post-apocalyptic Mad Max sort of society where the men will have no choice but to embrace their masculinity. Now there's gonna be a lot of men fighting to the death over women, because a lot of women are going to become rape brides. But hey, if that's what needs to happen, then so be it.
I'm with you on that, Cause I see that happen, Chris. Conan type of situation, a Mad Max type of situation, highly probable right now.
They should have never been given any of the rights that they have, and once it's almost like we need to establish a new government.
But
To replace.
Talking about in the movie, you'll have El Chapo coming from the south, and China will land on the shores of California, and they will dominate. Between those two countries, they will dominate, and they will kill off. There will be no strong spot. They will kill off the men here. But do just like Genghis Khan. You're not needed unless we're going to have you as slave labor, and they will kill you off.
Well,
or you can jump ship and go over there to that side.
It won't crash and burn. China will step in and take over because why you just come in and you take the resources, and any labor that's here you use as slave labor, have rape brides, and you kill off the males you don't need. You just kill them off.
Like I said, regardless,
they ain't gonna kill
because of the birth rates, we're gonna have to start outsourcing labor anyway. So it's gonna happen. These women aren't having enough babies to replace the workforce, so we're gonna have to outsource labor. So it's gonna happen anyway.
China will come. It won't crash and burn. China will just come in.
Yeah, it's gonna come.
But you remember the 1800 Chris? I believe it was late 1800. Kunta Kinte chose to fight for the British king, Chris, in order to regain his freedom. And he said he'll kill many white men in the name of your king, just in exchange for my freedom. Now, if it comes to that, Chris, I guarantee you're gonna have a lot of men jumping. They gonna go for that other country in order to regain their freedom, Chris. If it comes to it.
Yeah, but like Ted said, the problem with them is it's like black nationalists and white nationalists, right? They hate everybody, right? But what they refuse to acknowledge is the problems within their own women. And if they would just solve the problems within their own women, then there'd be no reason to hate everybody, because they would have the problems that they're pissed off about. White nationalists or all these racist guys are claiming that there aren't enough white babies being born, right? So they walk around pissed off at black men, pissed off at Mexicans, and they want to kill us and do all this shit to us. It's like, no. The problem is you keep putting your women on the pedestal to the point where they don't want to breed with you. You keep putting these women on the pedestal so they view you as weak. So they're going to gravitate to the men that aren't putting them on the pedestal. And that's going to be other men, because nobody's going to value your women like you value them. And that's why you see Arab women, like Arab men, they have no problem checking their women.
Including their daughter.
Right. And it's funny, these Taliban, within like 1 hour after them retaking Iraq, they pretty much took every woman's driver's license away.
And they went door to door to businesses and told the women, you no longer work here. Send your brother.
Right. They did all this like within 1 day.
Yep.
And it's amazing that the U.S. is going over there trying to pretend that they're concerned about the women over there, when the U.S. is currently destroying the women here. And no, what it is they just don't want men over here waking up and seeing how that country is going to thrive under, a true male patriarchy versus over here.
See that
would it be a totalitarian dictatorship?
What'd you say, Kendrick?
I was asking, would it be like a totalitarian dictatorship?
Not necessarily. It's just a. You don't need that. You just need a group of men. You just need all the men in your society to be on the same page. That we're going to be the epitome of masculinity, and that's it. We're not going to accept this. We need to what they used to tell us, we need to embrace our feminine side. Yeah, we're not gonna accept any of that bullshit.
Well,
That's one of the worst things that men were taught in the 80s.
they started that. They actually started that in the 1970s. And the problem is men fell for that. Now, here's what's interesting, Chris. I think it was last week. I was reading. I forget what the topic was, but it was 12% of Hispanic women claim to be feminist. 23%. 23% of Black women. 26% of Asian women and 28% of white women. So it's Hispanic women that are less likely to run to feminism. They're very cooperative with their men.
Yeah. That's the migrant Latinas. In which, if you look at the financial difference between or disparity between the migrant Latinas, the migrant Latins, and the ones that are here in the U.S. Because of feminism, the migrants are actually catching up to the Latins that are already U.S. citizens because the women have chosen to stand by their men.
And they're very cooperative.
Right. So you've got a crop of migrant Latins that are, they're like, I want to say when it comes to financial generational wealth, they're like a couple grand behind them.
Well, so even with that, even the ones who have been here still understand culturally. There's a rule that women take care of the man.
Right.
Even when you talk to the woman, that the husband's a doctor, he's a medical doctor, the wife is an attorney, and the husband says they're sitting on a couch, and the husband says, "Can you go get me a beer?" The average, English-speaking woman from the U.S. says, "Why can't you go get your beer? We're both sitting."
I ain't so slave.
Right. So that's what she says. The Latina, she gets up and gets the beer and gives it to him, and she'll say, "Why don't I? Why would I argue with my husband over that? I'll just get him his beer." And he continues watching TV and everything is fine. Like, we don't have any problems behind that.
Right. My roommate when I was in the Navy,
they've been less likely to chase the feminist propaganda than women, the English-speaking women in the U.S.
Right. My roommate in the Navy was Mexican, and his mother was a high school principal. Right. His father was like just a shade tree mechanic. His father didn't even speak any English, right? But whenever his father told her to go fix him something to eat, go get him a beer, whatever, she just did it. Even though she was the breadwinner in the family. Even though she had this, and she was the principal over a pretty big high school too,
Yep.
And even though she had this prestigious job, she still understood her role in the house. And that's the problem. So yeah, you're right. Most Latin women, well, I'm gonna say Mexicans because when it comes to them goddamn Dominicans, they're getting just as bad as black women. When it comes to Puerto Ricans, they're just as bad as black women. So really, it's only the Mexicans and the South American women.
Well, you say Central and South America.
Central South America. Yeah, Central. Well, I wouldn't even say some of South America because damn Brazilians are.
Well,
they're just,
but they're not Latinas. That's a whole different world. Brazilians.
Right. So I'm talking when I say Latins, I'm talking the Latinos. I'm talking about the Central and the Mexicans, the Central Americans and the Mexicans. They still understand the importance of they're being submissive to their husbands. But yeah,
let me say this: they'll do it in Brazil. But this is what I've been telling guys. The reason, if you go to DR or Brazil, is because men are going down there doing this, creating the same monsters they did here by.
Oh, we had that conversation. Yeah, they're going down there and tricking.
They're creating those women. Those
Right.
women are not like, and they're not like that with their men. But because they've gotten tainted by the men here throwing money at them and saying, and even saying, "Oh, you're 26, you're still young." But in Dominican Republic, if you're 26, you're old. You're not married yet. Like you're
Right. They're like, "What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you, Grandma? Why aren't you married?" You know.
Exactly. And the men here are like, "Oh no, you're beautiful, you're young." You know, they go on and put in her head basically what feminists. Their men from here are like you know how they say bees pollinate, go from flower to flower.
Right.
They're bringing like pollination bees. They're bringing feminism down to Dominican Republic, and the bee doesn't know that it's dropping something from another flower into a different flower. And the men here don't realize that they're actually dropping feminism off in DR, Brazil, Colombia, and everywhere else.
And I hate to say it, but it's black men going over there and tricking and simping and doing and causing all the problems. They're creating problems in that group of women over there that those men didn't have before. Because those men over there, they don't earn the money that we earn here in the U.S. So the men over there can't financially compete with us. And it's unfair to those men over there that those women are being given this temporary lifestyle that their men can't permanently afford them.
Yep.
Exactly. And that's my point, Ted. They need to keep their simping butt from going over there. If you ain't going over there looking for a wife, don't take your narrow behind over there.
Yeah, and that's the problem. The problem is they say that, you know, well, the black women here aren't marriage material. Okay, well, you're going over to the DR just turning those women into whores. When those women weren't marriage material for the men that were in their country, because they were being raised by their grandmothers to be wives.
Well, and a lot of them are prostitutes. So, if you're going to be a stripper, you can just stay here.
Right. Yeah, if all you want is a prostitute or a stripper, you don't need to go to DR for that.
And there are plenty of beautiful strippers in the U.S.
There's plenty of beautiful strippers here. You know, Atlanta, you know, Vegas, Cali, yeah.
But the problem is, gentlemen, when you got gentlemen like you looking for that traditional stay-at-home, motherly, caring, affectionate woman for the housewife role, now you can't find that because a lot of them out here now become whores now. And that's a problem for all of us. You see what I'm saying? But the simps don't think like that.
Well, they don't care because all they care about is their own self-gratification.
Okay.
Their temporary self-gratification.
But see, here's where a lot of people are missing. I talked about this super upper class, and this guy, Charles Murray, wrote his book Coming Apart. There are women being raised who are being taught to create the next generation of leaders. So that means they come together with a man and cooperate, and they understand their roles, as you were saying, Chris. But they may have been part of a higher socioeconomic class, but not always. What they know how to function in that socioeconomic class, and therefore they can marry someone, right? So you can, but you just have to have that kind of mindset. And there's where the problem is. There's a boundary, and there's the ticket of entry is not for everyone. So the women are there, they're just not easily accessible to everyone is the problem.
So what you're speaking about, they put in several movies. The Stepford Wives for one. But there's also other movies, and you're right. Them and those women, they're creating a new society to where they are literally going to be. There's only going to be two classes of people. You're literally going to have the haves and the have-nots. See, right now we still have, you know, your upper class, your elites, your middle class, your lower class. Well, that's all going to go away, and it's going to become either you have or you don't.
Well, so this is the other thing about this super class. See, you could have been part of an elite upper class and you inherited the money. You were not necessarily highly intelligent. This class of people, they're generally high IQs. They are very intelligent, and intelligence is hereditary. There are studies showing that boys inherit their intelligence from their mother and girls from their father. Right? They've been able to trace that. So they're creating money and intelligence, and if all the average woman is doing is making babies with prisoners or thugs, dudes who are not that intelligent, there's no way your children will compete. So it will be what you're saying, a have and have nots, but they're going to be elite in a way that we typically haven't seen. Even in the aristocratic society, you could be wealthy and really kind of dumb, right? But you're a trust fund baby. You're not that smart. You may have access to resources and information to make you smarter, but you don't have this natural, innate intelligence that is being bred. Like they're breeding intelligence, and that's creating a whole nother class of people. And you give them money, they're going to be running things. And so many corporations are mediocre now. That could start to impact a lot of mediocre people. May start finding it difficult to rise as much as they have had. And I'd say that's actually a good thing.
Yeah, yeah. Right, and you look at poor, and so in poor communities, the women decide who gets all the who has the breeding rights, right?
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
And when you look at the rich elite society, the men still have the decision over the breeding rights, and particularly in fathers. Their daughters might want to be whores, but those daughters know not to come home pregnant, right? So yeah, they'll go out, they'll suck dick, they'll get fucked in the ass, whatever, but they ain't gonna come home pregnant. They might be known as the rich town whore, but they ain't coming home pregnant. They're not coming home pregnant until they marry that doctor or that lawyer or that scientist, and then they're coming home pregnant by him.
So Chris, we just had someone enter the chat. His name is Buttfucker 3000. He said, "I'm under no obligation to do this. They can defend themselves." So he's responding specifically to the title of the show.
Yeah, I'm on board with you, brother. Fuck them. If I see a pit bull attacking a woman, I'm just gonna get a bag of popcorn and a soda and just watch.
Well, I put on a show of about 5 women in Great Britain talking about how 66% of people polled said men shouldn't protect women anymore.
No, we shouldn't.
Man for himself.
Yeah, they say they're equal to us, and if you're telling me that you're my equal, well, as men we have this saying: every man for himself.
Correct.
So if you're my equal, okay, every man for himself.
And it's been interesting listening to women on social media cry out that men owe us, protection and provisions. You need to provide and protect. You've been hearing it more and more and more, and even the women who have 5 children by different men are still demanding to be protected. How could you not protect us? You're not a real man, and men need to really listen to what they're saying and assess the decisions they've made and let them live out. As they said, if you make your bed, you sleep in it.
That's what the old folk used to say. When you make your bed hard, Ted and Chris, you got to lay it. And you know what, Chris? It's funny how they talking about protect. I say, well, I'm like you, Chris. I say I'm looking forward to the day that one of them get out of line with Pook and Ray Ray, so he can knock the living dog snot out of him. And I'm just gonna be sitting back laughing.
Men need to stop helping them in every aspect of society. You see them, with flat tire, keep driving. They need their car needs a jump. because the battery's dead. Keep driving. They're during that last government shutdown, there was some sitting outside 7-Eleven. Hey, I haven't eaten in 2 or 3 days. Do you have $2? Yep. Do you think you can give it to me? Nope. Nope. If you're that hungry, there's a trash can right over there. Go fight that raccoon for the scraps.
So yes, women. So ultimately, women need to be protected from themselves, but they don't want men to do that. And I read an article earlier tonight and talking about how this guy was having drinks with some friends, and he was frustrated because he leads an entire team of women, and he said they were being miserable, and no matter what he did to lead them out of the misery, they wanted to be miserable. And the author of the article is a woman, and she said, well, you were trying to solve their problem. You should never do that. Women don't want to feel like they're broken. They need to be fixed by a man solving problems. So her suggestion was, don't solve their problem. In her words, she said, you have to play women better than they play themselves, and essentially lie to the women, tell them how wonderful and in awe you are, awesome and wonderful they are. And then that will make them snap out of it, and all of a sudden they will function. So the way you save women is by pretending to not save them and lie to them.
The way you save women.
Wait, Chris, I'm getting, hold on. That's a woman's solution to saving women. Don't save us. I'm telling you, don't save us, but this is how you save us. And her suggestion is exactly how we got here, by lying to women and telling them how great and awesome and all the things that they can do that they're actually not doing. That's how we got here.
Right. I agree. What they want us to do is to give them solution, lead them to solution, and then pretend like they came up with it on their own. I used to work with a woman. She could never fix anything, right? But she would get pissed off when we would tell her, "Hey, all it is this right here, right?" And it would be something simple, right? A motherboard goes out on the keyboard. Oh, hey, it's just that motherboard over there. She would get pissed off that we just told her, she's been sitting there for, half a day and she can't figure out it's the motherboard on this computer, right? She would get pissed off if we just come in, take a look at it and be like, oh, it's just a motherboard. Just replace the motherboard and, put the computer back together, go about your business, She would get offended thinking we're, trying to outdo her or belittle her or whatever. It's like, no, we're just trying to, help you solve your problem so you can move on to something else or move on to, just goofing off, because you got all your work done. But she would get offended because we solved the problem for her. So we got a new guy in at work, right? So the majority of us knew to not do that anymore, to just lead her and make her think it was her idea that she came up with to fix whatever problem she was facing. So we got a new guy in, and we hadn't taught him that. I hadn't taught him that lesson because I wanted him to see how she was, and I didn't want to tarnish, or I don't want to mess up his opinion of her. I wanted him to formulate his opinion of her. I wanted him to come to that on his own accord. So I didn't want to influence it at all. So I didn't tell him anything. So he sees her working on a computer, and she can't do something as simple as put the back on the computer, right? Now the computer, the side of the computer says Dell. So to put it back on, all you have to do is put Dell so it reads right side up, so you can read Dell going across.
Right.
Put that back to the side of the computer, and it'll snap right in place. It's simple. A monkey could do it, right? She's been sitting at this bench for 45 minutes trying to, and the damn thing only turns 4 ways. So for 45 minutes, she hasn't figured out how to put it in. And he goes, hey, I think all you got to do is just turn it that way so that Dell reads that way, and that'll snap back in. She got pissed off, picked this computer up, and threw it at him. Simply because he solved the problem in 2 seconds that she'd been trying to solve for 45 minutes. And she was allowed to keep her job, right? Now just think if a man would have thrown a computer at a woman, what would have happened to him?
that's what I wanted to know. What were the consequences? So
Nothing.
Therein lies the problem. Consequences.
No, I agree. And it couldn't have been me, because I would have caught the computer and threw it right back. But he let's just say he didn't look like me.
He's a new guy, so
yeah. But that's the problem. They know. I think deep down inside, women know that they're not as intelligent as we are, and they're intimidated by it. You know, they're insecure about it.
So part of what I'm saying is for men to get women on track is men need to start talking firmly when women are not listening. Because what is she going to do? Beat you up? Like,
right.
Honestly. And if she wants to
persuade Mr. Santos.
If she wants to just keep doing things her way, literally leave her to dry like a grape on a vine and do it her way. Just that's what you're saying, Chris. Just leave them to die on their own. Leave them alone. But when you talk to them, you make it clear. See, men have a powerful tool. It's called their voice. And at any time, as a man, if I want to put bass in my voice, and I want you to hear what I'm saying, and I only have to say this once, men can use their voices, and women will say you're controlling, you're all of those things, except they're responsive to that. They may get upset, they may get angry, they may want to report, but what did you do except use your voice? And if she doesn't like it and she wants to run, let her run. But if every man does that, they will run out of places to run, unless they're going to go to that place and that island off of Finland and live there. And that is, men just have to have balls.
Yeah, I agree.
And there lies the problem, and that China's enforcing men are going to have balls now.
Yeah. But that's not what's being happening in Western culture. Western culture, they're encouraging men to wear dresses.
But the irony of it all is that when they let those guys get in the ring doing MMA, they're crushing the skulls of women.
Right. And I mean, women don't realize, like, okay, if you encourage all men to be trannies, who are you going to have sex with? You're only attracted to masculine men. So if you encourage all men to be sissy boys, who are you going to be sleeping with?
Exactly, Chris, that's my point. People don't think like that. I'm at a crossroads with that. That don't make no sense.
Men need to start using their voices that they were given.
Nah, well, men gonna have to start doing the use of persuasion with that whip. That's what they're gonna have to fist in that whip. That's what they need to get back to.
Yeah.
Medieval parents, that's what I'm suggesting. That's what we're gonna have to get back to.
If you don't know how to say sit down and that's enough, and use your voice. See, there's power in your voice. I've actually done it, and I've done it. You're familiar with the app Clubhouse, right, Chris?
I know I've never been on it, but I've heard so much bad stuff about it. I've heard it's hilarious. I might create an account just to see how bad it is over there. But I've heard
you've heard of it.
Yeah,
that's all. Yep. So I went in there, and that is either they're gonna just kick me out of the room, or they are absolutely going, because it's only audio, it's no video, and women will respond to. I've proven it over and over again that they will absolutely respond to a man's voice. They will stop in their tracks. This is what men are not understanding, that we have way more power, because what is she going to do? Beat you up? And if you have that kind of attitude, like, yes, I said that, And if you say I can't say it, I just said it. So
Right.
What are there consequences? You're gonna what? What are you gonna do? Throw me out the window? Come on. This is men are afraid to take on that. Like, what they're afraid? What? She's not gonna have sex with you? I mean, your voice is gonna make her wet, if anything.
Yeah, like I said, I've said it before. I've said it again. There's one word that every man needs to have no fear of using. Bitch. There's so much power in that word. Shut up, bitch.
Look, there are man's voice can act if you do it with in a fearless way and not be worried about being called controlling and domineering and all that. Yes, that's exactly what I'm doing.
Right, and if they call you if they call you a misogynist, a sex, embrace it.
Right. What is she going to do? I'm a misogynist. Now what?
Yeah, I'm a misogynist. I'm a sexist. Yes, okay. We established that. Now what? Where do we go from here?
But there are rules of engagement. Period.
Right, and if you call me a misogynist and a sexist, then you should know that I'm willing to beat your ass if you talk shit to me face to face.
Exactly.
So there should be a level of respect that you give me if we're face to face.
Oh, listen how you just said that. Now, old homeboy from the hood, now she'll respect him. But when Chris just said what he said, the type that me and you gentlemen talking about, they think they can walk all over you. But now to that, he'll go upside her head, Chris.
Well, see, the thug has nothing to lose, and they take advantage of that. The thug has nothing to lose, so he doesn't mind going to jail. You take a man like me, which I got bail money too, so that first time is like on the house. But they think, in their mind, I have a lot to lose, and I'm not willing to go to the extremes that thug would with them because I don't want to lose, pension, house, or any of that stuff. So they know they can. They think they can take it a little further, But a lot of times, and for the most part, they are right. 'Cause most men will just be like, fuck that. I'm not losing my job. I'm not losing my career. I'm not losing this, that, over no stupid bitch. But every once in a while, they're gonna catch the wrong guy on the right day, and it's not gonna end the way they think.
Yeah. So maybe China's got it right. So one of the things men need to be trained on is their own power, and that's what men don't understand. So trying to get in touch with your feminine side completely robs a man of power. I'm not even going to. You notice I didn't say masculine power, just power.
Power, right?
His power. You're telling him to be something he's not. A major part of your power is being yourself. In attempting to be a woman when you're not a woman, you just stripped yourself of power. Anyone who's out there pretending to be something they're not, they just lost their power. And so that's part of what women like about a thug, because he's not being pretentious about anything. I'm a thug. I'm from this socioeconomic class, and I'm not pretending to be anything else. And this is who I am. And too many guys are trying to impress women, which means you're being someone you're not to impress her. And you have no power. And she will exploit you. She's going to exploit you. But if you're not worried about losing her, the thug is also not worried about losing the woman. At least some of them, because there are a lot of women who exploit these cats who are wannabe thugs.
Right.
Some of those guys get exploited. Like, I'll put you out. You better shut up. They get
well. The funny thing about them is they only get exploited when they develop feelings and they start to care. When they make that woman like their number one, when they start to be monogamous with that woman, that's when they get exploited. But as long as they're treating, whatever woman they're with like she's just a side piece, because they got 100 more, which they usually do, then no, they're still the ones in charge. She's not going to put them out because women want to take from other women, right? So that's why they would rather fuck a married man than a single guy, because they want what other women have. So she would rather have this thug, whatever, who has 10 other girlfriends and compete with his attention over those 10 other women than to go get a man that she doesn't have to worry about that with. She wants what other women have. That's why when women go out, they don't dress for the attention of men, because men don't give a shit. You can walk in with a pair of jogging pants and a t-shirt and some sneakers, and we're still going to try to fuck you. But no, they walk in with Gucci and Prada and these 10-inch stilettos that are just uncomfortable to walk in because they're peacocking in front of other women. They want to compete with other women and the attention of other women versus just men. Except what a man gives them.
Yeah. See, this is what men need to understand: power. Because men with power don't chase women.
Right. This is the age-old adage: if you chase women, if you chase money, you'll always have women. If you chase women, you'll always be broke.
Right. So if men really, but here's the thing: women will chase men with power, shamelessly chase men with power.
Yes, they want men with power. And that's why they chase the thug, because that thug has it's the illusion of having power. Being rich isn't the only way you can appear to have power.
So this is the thing that I'm saying that's missing, and men have a tool already, their voice, that has power.
Yeah, your voice, your presence.
Exactly, and men don't know how to use their presence and their voice. But even if you're physically not there, that's why I asked you about Clubhouse, because you can clearly demonstrate that with women on Clubhouse, and they never physically see you. It's all.
Yeah, no, I've never been on Clubhouse. I didn't even know it was audio only. I thought it was just chat, But yeah.
No. See, that's the point I'm making, Chris, is that there's a way to exhibit power with women, just like with your dog and your children. I mean, there's a way that men use their voice to get responses, to get things moving in the direction you want. And men have been stripped of that because they've been told to seek their feminine side. And so out of frustration, they have to use other ways. But men can have power with presence, with voice. The combination is the ultimate. You can walk into a room and say nothing and have that kind of power. You just can. And women will lay down for guys like that. But guys are not being taught to be that anymore. They're being taught to be afraid of that.
Right. I mean, the bottom line is we have to get, particularly men with daughters, men that are in the homes with their daughters. You have to start there, because like I said, a lot of them are scared of their daughters, and they're scared of the daughters because they've allowed their daughters to ingest all of this feminist bullshit, from TV to, it's sad that some of these men they let their daughters watch like Real Housewives of Atlanta and Keeping Up with the Kardashians and shit like this.
Interesting.
As a father, how can you allow that filth in your house? How can you allow your daughter to sit there and watch that? You should be ashamed of yourself. But these men are scared of their daughters, so they do that, and their daughters watch this feminist bullshit, and they start to develop, a sense of power in their head, and they actually think they're more powerful than their fathers.
Yeah, well, women don't really have power. They may be able to manipulate. But
Right. No, right. We know it's a false bravado, but in their mind they have power, because that whole "I am woman, hear me roar," No,
right.
But yeah, it has to start with fathers, and and fathers, number one, being the leaders of their households and stop being scared of their daughters.
No question. Right. And women need to see power from their fathers. Otherwise, they're going to freak out when they meet a man who actually speaks with power. They're going to feel,
Right.
you're trying to control me. Oh, I'm scared, and all this stuff is. And women.
Well, no, that's the thing. See, their father doesn't relinquish control over her until he vets and picks a man for her to marry.
No, I'm saying what happens today is that women what they do is they manipulate men to back down
Right.
from power and say, "Oh, you're just controlling. You're down. I'm scared of you. Your voice when you speak to me like that." It's like I just literally had this conversation with a woman at my place at home right here Saturday. She was like, "Oh, don't raise your voice." I said, "I'm a man, and this is the way I talk. This is the way I will continue to talk." I said it much stronger than that, but she was like, "Well, I'm leaving," and it's like, okay, but she had to deal with, this is the way I'm going to talk. This is the way we're going to address this issue, and for the rest of the weekend, she served me. If I was in my office, she brought my food with plate, but I didn't back down and try to placate her and get in touch with the feminine side. I didn't care.
Right.
And I didn't have to use physical violence. I used my voice as a tool, and you're going to respond to it, or you're going to look, or you'll run. I'm okay with either way.
Right. But the first time, it's a culture shock to them because most men aren't willing to do that, and they're used to pushing around the average man.
That's why I'm emphasizing this. Like, men have a voice. It's a powerful tool, and it has nothing to do with femininity or feminism or anything feminine. And if women get accustomed to that, then let them run. But when they get to the next guy and the next guy, and it's there's nowhere to run to. Unless like I said, unless you're going to go get your own island, and you won't ever have to worry about men being misogynist again.
Right, I agree.
So there's a solution for women, but I don't think they want that solution.
No, they just want problems. They want problems that they know they can't solve, and then and like I said, they get mad when we solve them. The whole reason for their ire against men today is that we've made life too easy for them. We've solved all their problems. We made life too easy.
Absolutely. That is the root. They were bored. So, and then they're like, well, we want to do what you're doing. And what men would have been wise to say, you're right. You have a right to want to do what we're doing. So go out and create your own businesses, create your own oil refineries and drill oil, get iron ore, do everything we're doing. But don't come to us, because these companies were started by men, and we have a right to have the most productive people in the company. And you have a right to go out and start your own business. There have been women who've had hundreds of millions and millions of dollars. They could have done it, and they didn't. So all they did was hijack something that men started and became the less productive worker, which now we have to raise prices to subsidize the less productive worker. In life, the cost of living has gone up.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
So, final thoughts, takeaways from this conversation. Should men protect women?
The number one thing women need protection from is themselves. And it is impossible to protect someone from themselves because you don't live inside their head. So as long as you don't live inside their head, we destroy ourselves internally long before we do externally. And these women are destroying themselves in their heads long before they do it, anything physical to themselves, before they make a decision that affects them physically. We don't have the space to live in their head. So we can't protect them from themselves. And it's been shown that for the last 50 years. So stop trying. Let them fail. Give them that equality that they keep bitching about not having.
So give women own absolute. The whole idea of women and children first is gone.
Nope. Every man for themselves. I'll still stay with child.
No, right, but not women and children. It's just
Yeah, not women and children. No.
Right. And if anything, the best person to go with the children to keep them safe is a man, not a woman.
Exactly. So yeah, no. Every man for themselves.
Kendrick, last words, takeaways from this conversation.
I agree. And the best way, if in same logical way to the so-called saving them from themselves, I would say they need to be institutionalized. They need to be a real clinical mental illness to you. They don't know, because that's messing up and that's distorting the whole. So I'm agreeing with Chris on that. That's my solution. Lock them up.
Yep. So in any civilization around the world, women have always and still today, they can only do what men allow them to do. And there's where our problem begins.
Hey, Ted, I think Kevin Samuels may be watching. You see his topic?
Say that again?
I think Kevin Samuels may be a fan, man. Go look at his topic.
What is it?
Should men protect women or something like that? Hold on, I'll read it to you.
That's funny. That is funny.
Oh, it's modern women must and need to be protected.
Wow, that's funny. That is hilarious.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe he's a fan. He might be a fan.
That is hilarious. I'm
But you know what, Chris?
What's that?
But you know what, Chris? That wasn't Tupac. That was Lord, I forget his name. Project Pat said, "Don't save her. She don't want to be saved." Now look how many years ago that's been, Chris. That was way back in the late 90s.
Yeah.
666, man. That rap group out there in Orange Mound, Memphis.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah, you can't save her. You can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved.
So look, if men understand that women can only do what men allow them to do, then men have the absolute right to protect the civilization and do what's in the best interest of everyone. And if women do not like that, women, if they're that powerful, they can pack up and leave. And that really needs to be the mindset. That it almost like that needs to be a universal response to women who talk about feminism and a patriarchy. It's like, hey, you know what? You're right. Us men are misogynists, we're sexist, we're oppressing you, and there's no reason you ladies should tolerate that. So I'm waiting to see for all of you to pack your bags and just leave. I mean, that's what you would say to your 13-year-old for saying, well, you're making me go to bed early. You won't let me eat cake for dessert. You know, what's in the best interest of everyone? And men need to, God, something in my eyes, but men need to, unyielding, like no hesitation, no doubt in their voice. And if the women don't like it, they can leave. But eventually your 13-year-old will stop complaining and saying, well, this is unfair. You won't let me have cake for dinner. It's like, well, if you don't like this, then you should leave and go, get a job and take care of yourself. And you can feed yourself cake all you want. And eventually that kid understands, I'm going to eat what my parents put in front of me to eat. And I'm not going to complain about not having cake for dinner because my parents have drawn boundaries around certain things. Men need to understand their power again.
Agreed.
Happens until if you let it crash and burn, China will be here and you will be speaking Mandarin. And no, most men won't be speaking Mandarin. They will be dead because they've already proved themselves to be useless.
The unfortunate reality though is so have you seen I'm not going to hold you too much longer, but I just want to say this. Have you seen some of the effects of the this vaccine?
Like what? No, not really. I haven't taken it.
It's causing young women in their 20s to go through menopause early and become sterile. It's causing young boys to become sterile. So
Yes,
through eugenics Abortion and female empowerment, we aren't having enough babies being born to replace the workforce. So inevitably, labor is going to be outsourced to China or whoever else is keeping up with their birth rates. And so it's it's going to happen. It's just going to happen.
Look, the Hispanic community this is already in 30 years going to be majority Latinos. So
Yeah.
It's the writings on the wall.
Yeah, but go look it up, man. That shot is causing women to go through menopause early, and we're talking women in their 20s.
That's devastating. Wow.
Yep.
But it's the truth, though. And Chris, I don't know if you noticed it, but I'm not a tweet, man. There's some real suspicious stuff going on with her tweet.
With who?
Nah, that old female talked about the swelling of the testicle thing and causing men to be impotent.
Yeah, I told you. Yeah, it's
some real
sterilized. Yeah, that's why sperm banks. If you're a man and you've been inoculated with the vaccine, they will not accept your sperm.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow. And so and you said Australia, the men are eunuchs, right? So they're locked down over there. They have to get it. So the men laid down basically.
Well, they don't have guns. When you don't have guns, you have no choice but to lay down for your government. You can't. What are you going to fight with? A pitchfork? You going to use a pitchfork against a tank?
Wow. Well, so hey, Chris, good to hear from you. Thanks for both you and Kendrick coming in. There was a lot of comments in the super chat. But Fucker 3000, this is the first time I'm seeing you in the chat, so appreciate you coming in.
I love that name.
Hope everyone got something out of this. But this is a real conversation that men need to be talking about, because one of the things that women do is to get in a man's face and threaten, I'll kick your ass, or women incite fights and then expect their boyfriends and husbands to take up, pick up for them. I should have showed a video where that literally happened, where the guy had his girlfriend or whatever, his girlfriend was getting attacked by like 5 or 6 women, and he just laid over her and took the beating. He took the punishment. So what she incited something by talking trash to these women, and they came at her hard. So women are going to have to get the equality, like Kendrick was saying. Give them full equality and let them take exactly what they're putting out. And if then they're going to have to live under a different set of rules.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this, and then I'm gonna head out. Look up a video on YouTube when men finally fight back. It's absolutely hilarious.
Really?
Yeah, when men finally fight back.
Interesting. Yep. And
it's been fun, man. Thanks for the conversation, and love the show, man.
Yep. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Chris. Thank you. Thank you, everyone in the chats. This was YouTube and Chill, where I like to talk about the intimacy. And even though this sounds like a violent, but whether men protect women or not is a very intimate part of a relationship, and it's a commitment that men have stood by for thousands, maybe millions of years. And if women don't want it, men should no longer force that down the throats of women and let them protect themselves or one another. So have a great evening and a great weekend, everyone. Until I'm back on Sunday with Straight Talk, I appreciate the super chats and the support. Take care, everyone. Thank you and good night. Take care, Kendra.